all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Travis Kelce's not riding off into the sunset with Taylor Swift just yet. The All-Pro tight end agreed on a 2-year, $34 million extension with the Chiefs, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Schefter also reports the Cowboys and running back Ezekiel Elliott agreed on a 1-year deal. Nuggets point guard Jamal Murray, questionable. Game 5 of the first-round NBA playoff series tonight against the Lakers due to a calf strain. Denver's only 1 win away from moving on to the second round. But it won't get that victory tonight, believes ESPN NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins.
They have no answer for Anthony Davis. He has been torching the Denver Nuggets and Jokic this series. And if you could get a little bit out of Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, just need them to be good. If they could be good and get you around 15 points apiece, the Lakers are going to win this game 5.
NHL, Seattle fired coach Dave Haxtell after the franchise took a significant step back following a playoff run in Season 2. Twins shortstop Carlos Correa set to return from a strained ribcage tonight against the White Sox. He's missed the last 16 games.
Feeling great starts with a great shave, and great shaves start with Barbasol Shaving Cream. That's Barbasol Shaving Cream, an American classic for over 100 years. Close Shave America. Close Shave Barbasol.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
And welcome into a Monday edition of After Further Review. Musso filling in for Moscona. Scone out a couple of days here to start the week, so I'll drive you home from 3 to 6. Alondra Villarreal, Paul O'Neill along for the ride as well. We have a lot to get to today, as you might imagine. It was a weekend jam-packed full of sports, and the NFL draft wraps up obviously Friday and Saturday, so we have plenty of picks to go through with the Saints. We'll get to that momentarily, and then Cat Terell is going to join us at 4:15 to look at the Saints draft, but also kind of look at some remaining holes that they have left, give her overall thoughts. We'll let you hear from Dennis Allen as well there. David Deluchi, of course, with us in his normal spot at 5 o'clock to recap the SEC weekend. We'll talk about LSU series win over Auburn, the disappointment that was Sunday, where that leaves them obviously going forward as they still try and make a run towards the NCAA tournament and the SEC tournament as that. And then the Pelicans, they are on the verge of elimination tonight, down 3-0 against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It has been ugly, to say the least, and they are, likely to get swept on their home floor tonight. Maybe not, but I feel like that's likely. Jake Madison will be here, and we'll talk about that. Oh, and by the way, LSU has one of the top defensive tackles in the transfer portal on campus right now today. So we'll let you know kind of where that stands a little bit as well. We have, like I said, plenty to get to. Of course, as always, our opening segment brought to you by Bud Light and Mockler Beverage. So we're going to start there. And we'll start, obviously, with the Saints. You don't have to worry about that. We'll have to start with the Saints draft as well. So how I want to do this is obviously on Friday when Matt was here, he went all through Fuanga, the number 1 pick at 14. Taliesin Fuanga, the offensive tackle, who's going to fill one of your spots, whether it's right tackle in place of Ryan Ramczyk or left tackle in place of Trevor Penning, James Hurst, you pick. He's going to fill one of those. We went through that extensively then. So I want to pick it up in the second round with Kool-Aid McKinstry and then go through, Rattler and Means and Ford and Boyd and and the offensive tackle they took in the 7th round, and kind of give you a brief thumbnail there. So that's where we'll start. So look, the Saints in round number 2, they were set to go at 45. You know the Saints have to check a box, right? They have to trade up at least once in a draft, and it came right there. They moved up 4 spots, I should say, to number 41. Everyone, I think, at that point thought, okay, maybe there's an offensive tackle they like. Maybe this is the wide receiver that they covet, because you saw that mock to them plenty. It was offensive tackle at 14, receiver in the 2nd round. But no, it was Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback out of Alabama. Maybe that was a little bit surprising for a couple reasons. One that we just said, it wasn't what they were really mocked to. It wasn't where a lot of the thinking was. And not only that, McKinstry's coming off a bit of an injury with the foot at Alabama. But when you look at the pick, he fits exactly what the Saints want. He's a long cornerback, great in press man coverage. The Saints played the 7th most press man in the NFL last season. It's what they do under Dennis Allen. So he fits that. He's a boundary guy. I think it is fair to ask what this might mean for Marshawn Lattimore. I know what Mickey Loomis said, obviously, at his pre-draft press conference. It was Mike Triplett that asked the question, will Marshawn Lattimore, do you feel comfortable that Marshawn Lattimore will be on the roster? And Mickey Loomis said yes. Then the follow-up was asked, and he admitted to avoiding that question, but also said, I don't like trading contributors. So we'll see. But you look at the depth chart there. I mean, you all obviously have Paulson Adebo also on the outside. You have Alontae Taylor in the slot, Marshawn Lattimore, now Kool-Aid McKinstry. The fit is good. So for that reason, I like the pick at 41 of Kool-Aid McKinstry. What was surprising, thank you. See, I forgot about that. You didn't. Good job, Alondra. What was surprising is that the Saints didn't trade up from that 5th round spot. They had 4 5s. They traded one of them to move up to 41. They never traded back into round 4 or round 3. And when they got to pick 150, they drafted Spencer Rattler, quarterback out of South Carolina. And this could prove to be one of the best value picks the Saints have. I mean, Spencer Rattler, if you think about what he was to what he became, what he was after his sophomore year at Oklahoma, and then after the time at South Carolina, it's a pretty winding journey. But ultimately, you look at a guy like Spencer Rattler, who after his sophomore year at Oklahoma was projected to be the number 1 overall pick. Like, he was going to be that guy, slam dunk, 1-1, franchise quarterback, all of that. Year 3 at Oklahoma, his draft year, does not go well. He enters the transfer portal, ends up with Shane Beamer at South Carolina, and reinvents himself in the Garnet and Black over there in Columbia. Played more snaps in the 2 seasons at South Carolina than he did in his 3 seasons at Oklahoma. Set a career high in passing yards in his final year in school. Really burst onto the scene in 2022 in that Tennessee game where he threw for over 400, had the 6 touchdowns. Like, he's extremely accurate. He's got great arm strength. Everything you want in a quarterback, Spencer Rattler has. It's just been a really interesting journey. But because of the physical tools, I don't know how you can do anything but like that pick, especially getting him in the 5th round, when at one point he was thought to be a slam dunk 1-1 guy. So I love the pick of Spencer Rattler. It's interesting. Look, the Saints have 5 quarterbacks now. They're obviously not going to carry 5 quarterbacks into camp. Kellen Mond's not going to make this roster. I think you really look at Haener, Peterman, and Rattler battling for that position. One of them's going to get the backup spot. The other one probably going to go to practice squad and or be the 3rd quarterback that the Saints carry. They've carried 3 before. Maybe they do that again. But looking at it, physical tools-wise and whatnot, I don't know how you look at Spencer Rattler coming in and what the Saints have currently on the roster and don't say he's the favorite right now to win the backup quarterback job behind Derek Carr. So I loved the pick of Spencer Rattler in the 5th round at 150. Then you go to pick 170 in the 5th round, and that's where the Saints addressed wide receiver. And I think it's real easy to look at it and go, man, you had a lot of people mocking them to take receiver in 2nd round. It looked like it was a big need. We've spent a lot of this offseason talking about the depth at receiver. Like, I mean, they brought in Equanimous St. Brown. They brought in Cedric Wilson. Like, they were trying to build numbers back up there, and there were a lot of great receivers you could have seen them take early in the draft. They didn't, and they took what looks like a really good receiver in the middle of the draft. Bub Memes, this pick has gotten a lot of fanfare just from around NFL circles. And it's easy to see why when you look at him. Bub Means is not going to come in for the Saints and be a day one, just plug and play guy. Go, you're right there with Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. That's not him. But he has the potential to develop into a really nice player. Great size, 6'1", 212, can stretch the field. Maybe needs a little bit more improvement on his routes, but he's got good length. He's got a catch radius, and the size lends him to be a possession guy. Add in the speed you like he could develop into a premier wide receiver if given enough time. He'll get a shot with the New Orleans Saints, like the pick of Bub Means there at 170 in the 5th round. The Saints would make 3 more picks. The next one would be 5 picks later at 175. That would be Jaylan Ford, the linebacker out of Texas. When you look at him from a statistical standpoint, there's plenty to like. He was Texas's leading tackler the last 2 years. He was first team all Big 12 the last 2 years. Was a third team All-American by the Associated Press in 2022. All of that sounds great. But the grades on him, not the best. There's a lot of question marks in a sense with him. Can he actually play all 3 downs? Is the physicality good enough? Is the anticipation good enough to play inside linebacker at the next level? For what the Saints have right now, he fits. I don't think he's a long-term solution for the New Orleans Saints. Can he serve as a quality backup for Demario Davis right now in the twilight of Demario's career? Sure. But when Demario's hangs it up, is he the future? Probably not. But maybe. You just wait and see. But I'm going to say probably not. So the Saints might be back in that market in the draft very soon. But for right now, for this team, sure. Jaylan Ford can do the job, no problem. The next pick came in the 6th round, 199. That was defensive tackle Christian Boyd out of Northern Iowa. Saints love them some Northern Iowa here as of late. And I'll be honest, it's not necessarily Christian Boyd that's disappointing to me. I just wanted the Saints to address defensive tackle earlier in the draft. The Saints, from a run defense standpoint, have been dreadful to their standards the last 2 years. And I think it's really obviously hurting their defense as a whole. When the Saints had the dominant defenses that they had under Dennis Allen when Sean Payton was the head coach, it was built off of stuffing the run. They never allowed a 100-yard rusher. It was just forced offenses to be one-dimensional, and they've gotten away from that. Taking a defensive tackle in the 6th round from a small school probably isn't going to be the answer to fixing that. Maybe they can address that more in free agency. I don't know. But when you look at Boyd in general, he's well built. He's huge. He's 6'2", 321. He did show an ability to increase his pass rush in his last season at Northern Iowa. He was a FCS All-American. But what you always talk about with a guy coming in from a small school is the step up in competition. The Saints have loved drafting small school guys, but the step up in competition is always a question, and it's always a fair question, and you have to ask that now with Boyd. Why did it take him so long to build that up, to show that increase in pass rush production or run stuff production at a lower level? How long would it take him to do that at the NFL level? So I looked at defensive tackle as a much bigger need than the New Orleans Saints obviously did. They went with Christian Boyd. It's not a bad pick. It's just one that I would have wished they addressed earlier in the draft. We'll see how he does in camp and if he can make the roster spot, grab a roster spot, And then finally, round 7, the last pick they made. Thank you. Josiah Ezerim, offensive tackle, Eastern Kentucky. This feels very Landon Young to me. Just if I'm going to be quite honest, the Saints are not done on the offensive line. But Ezerim is a project. He just is. He played his first 2 years of college football on the defensive line as a reserve defensive lineman at Eastern Kentucky to that. And it was 2019, 2020. He's more on the older side. So he's inexperienced there at offensive tackle. I shouldn't say inexperienced. He's green. Let's just say that. Because, he did play his final 3 of 5 years at that spot. It was right tackle. He was a FCS All-American. All of those things, great. Very agile guy. The athleticism is honestly what stands out the most with him. The production, maybe not so much, but to prove the point of the athleticism and why you take a flyer on a guy like this in the 7th round, at the combine, he was ranked the 11th best offensive tackle out of all of them there in athleticism. So he definitely has that going for him. Great size, 6'6", over 300 pounds. But not a guy he's not the answer to help fix your offensive line right now. At least I don't think, with how green he is. It's going to take some time to build him up, and being drafted in the 7th round, there's no guarantee that he makes the team. So the Saints clearly still have a hole on the offensive line that they need to address, or we should say holes. Overall, when I look at the Saints draft, I like it this year. I really do. I mean, we went through it, and I mean, more than half the picks are really good. You love the Fuanga pick. I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. I think he fits exactly what they want to do. I think Spencer Rattler is the favorite to win the backup quarterback job now, and maybe, depending on how that goes and how he develops in the system, could be the future. Maybe. I'm not saying he is, but could be, maybe. And then Bub Means feels like a steal. And Jalen Ford fits in a backup role right now. So overall, really good. The Saints address needs. They got guys who fit their scheme. Let's see how it plays out. Of course, this time of the year, everybody loves every draft pick, right? Now you get into rookie mini camp and then training camp, preseason, and the season will be here before you know it. But if I had to put a grade on it, B- for the New Orleans Saints. Not bad. We'll take it. You move on. Go into 2020. Go further, I should say, into 2024. All right. That's thoughts on the Saints draft. Cat Terell will be here at 4:15. We'll get her thoughts and talk more about, holes that they need to fill, things of that nature remaining. One of them, obviously, on the offensive line and going forward. We'll talk really kind of all those guys we just went through, what their roles might be, how they fit with the Saints going forward. When we come back, LSU won a series against Auburn, but everyone seems to really want to talk about Sunday. They failed to get the sweep. What does that mean for them going forward as they push for the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament alike? That's next here on AFR.
AFR.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Justin, whoa, all the way from Memphis, Tennessee, and he got something special for y'all tonight. He gonna sing a song for y'all.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Mold Zero, now pure restoration. Same patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. If you got mold, think you might have mold, not sure if you have mold, mold can be in your walls, you don't even know about it. Pure Restoration comes in, you don't have to worry about moving furniture, pulling up carpet, any of that sort of stuff. They come in, they'll spray their patented non-toxic dry fog, your home, office building, commercial building, whatever it may be. They're going to be more efficient than traditional remediation. It's going to cost you less as well. I love telling this story. There was an elderly woman who's a homeowner, had black mold on her ceiling, and she couldn't get a quote from anywhere that was less than $28,000. This was an elderly widow. Mold Zero came in, got rid of the mold for less than $5,000. Mold Zero is now pure restoration. Same company, same great patented non-toxic dry fog. They're general contractors, so they can do demolition and build back when you need it. They can take care of odor, sanitization. It's pure restoration. Pure-restoration.com. Pure-restoration.com.
All right, the LSU baseball Tigers, they got a 2-out-of-3 series win over Auburn in the first 2 days, played really well and won two different styles of games and looked really good doing it. And then Sunday happened, and they had a really good chance to sweep. I mean, I could sit here and say their best chance to sweep a series all season, but that goes without saying because it was the first time they had won two games to start a series in conference play all season long. But when you look at the arms that they had available going into that, like Griffin Herring hadn't thrown, I woke up Sunday morning and felt really good about LSU going out there to sweep. They fell behind 5-0, and when you look up, ultimately it's just a familiar refrain that you've seen from this team plenty throughout the year. They dug a hole early in a ball game that ended up being too deep to climb out of it. They didn't quit. They played hard. They did their best to mount a comeback. In the end, they couldn't do enough offensively. They left a lot of runners in scoring position. The big hit eluded them. If you didn't see the game, and you asked me, hey, Musso, what happened on Sunday? How did LSU lose? And all I told you was, same problems. Same problems, different day. You'd probably know what I meant. You'd probably think exactly what I just said. Oh, they probably dug a hole early in the game, couldn't climb out of it, fought hard, came back, but the big hit eluded them and all that. And yeah, that's what it was. The real interesting part, though, is, and what everybody wants to talk about, is the starting pitching decision. Cade Anderson got his first career start in conference play. And Griffin Herring was rested and ready to go. And we've talked an awful lot about Griffin Herring's role and what it should be. And this is what I will say for Sunday. Sunday was different than the rest of the season. Like, I 100% understand Jay Johnson's approach with Griffin Herring. I'm in favor of Jay Johnson's approach with Griffin Herring. Like, if you're one of those people who wants to just pencil Griffin Herring into the number 3 spot and say, leave him there, he should be the number 3 starter. No, he shouldn't. Because if you need him to win a game on Friday, you use him to win a game on Friday. He's your best pitcher. You use him at the biggest leverage spot that you have in a weekend to try and close out that ball game. Because what you've seen from Gage Jump, what you've seen from Luke Holman, especially this past weekend, but Jump the last 2 weeks, they're finally starting to pitch like front-end guys that you expected them to be. In tandem, they are. Holman's been pretty good throughout the season. He's had a few struggles on the road, but whatever. In tandem, though, it's starting to show a little bit more. So that allows you to leave Herring there. But Sunday's different because you locked up the first 2 games. He hasn't pitched. He's ready to go, and you're going for a sweep. That would have absolutely been a time where you could have gone, okay, yeah, starting. And I think everybody would have been okay with that. And for that reason, that's a miss on Sunday. It just is. Jay Johnson, after the game, said that's a tough one to swallow because of that. Like, I think if he had it to do over again, you would see Griffin Herring start in that role. And I'll be quite honest right here. I didn't like the decision to start Cade Anderson. And you can say, that's easy to say in hindsight. Sure you can. But if you've listened to Musso at the box throughout the season, you know what I've said about him in that starting role in SEC play, or really just him in SEC play to begin with. But I'll give you my reasoning on why I didn't like the decision, because it's not just that. That's part of it. Like, going into that game Sunday, Cade Anderson, opponents in conference play were hitting over 500 against him, and he had an ERA just south of 17 in conference play. It had been a struggle. But that's not the whole reason why I didn't love that choice. It's a lot of different things. Jay Johnson throughout the year has mentioned not asking pitchers to do more than they're capable of. He said that's where he thinks you can get in trouble on the mound, is when you ask a pitcher to do more than they're capable of. And that's what I thought they asked Cade Anderson to do. Again, not just because of the struggles he had in conference play. Cade Anderson threw 62 pitches on Tuesday. And then 4 days later, you're asking him to start a game. And the leash would have been short, 100%. They weren't going to be like, Cade, you threw 62 pitches 4 days ago. We need you to go out there and throw 75, 80. That wasn't going to be the plan, whatever. But that also is the first time he's been put in that type of situation. The routine a pitcher goes through to start a game is different than coming out of the bullpen. And then you add in the fact with the struggles on top of SEC play, you add into how that game happened for Cade Anderson. Like, his start, it was, he gave up a laced double to Stanfield to lead off the game. Like, that was bad. But then Auburn goes to bunt, and Mainers pops it up, so you get a free out there. Anderson drops a dandy of a breaking ball into Cooper McMurray, strikes him out looking, and it looks like he's going to get out of it. And then he gives up this bloop hit where not one stitch on the baseball was hit hard, and it goes over Jones' head, and a run scores. Then after he hits a batter, which is a problem for him, but after he hits a batter, 2 separate guys beat the shift. And this is where I stand on the shift in college baseball. This is where I stand on the shift in baseball in general. People ask me that all the time. I must have been asked that about 4 different times, maybe more this season, doing Moose at the Box, whenever someone beats the shift. What do you think of the shift? Here are my thoughts on the shift. Let me just be clear. They banned the shift in Major League Baseball, and that was stupid. I wish they wouldn't have banned the shift in Major League Baseball. You know why? You're professional hitters. Learn how to hit to the opposite field again. Suck it up. You're the best that the game has to offer. You can learn an approach and learn how to hit. The reason they banned the shift in Major League Baseball is because those pitchers are good enough to pitch to it every time. They can put a baseball wherever they want. Again, they're the best of the best. That's why they're pitching in Major League Baseball. In college, you can't do that. Certain guys can, but it's not easy for a college pitcher to pitch to the shift. I'm not saying it has no value in college baseball. Obviously, it does, or teams wouldn't do it. But at a consistency level, it's not nearly, in my opinion, where it is in pro ball. And I think you see some of that with a guy like Cade Anderson. That can also go into asking him maybe to do more than he's capable of. He's struggled in conference play. You're asking him now to pitch and locate to a shift, and he's shaken up out there, and guys end up beating it. And ultimately, you tip your hat to the Auburn guys. The shift's there for a reason, once again. But that's my take on the shift. I don't love it in college baseball because I don't think pitchers are skilled enough to pitch to it consistently. I loved it in Major League Baseball because pitchers were, and hitters need to suck it up and learn how to hit better at the Major League level. The art of the 300 hitter is dead in Major League Baseball, and that's their problem. Fix that on your own time. Instead, they ban the shift because they can't market their game. But I digress. So that's my whole reason I did not like the decision initially to start Cade Anderson. It's not because Cade Anderson's not good. Cade Anderson is good, and Cade Anderson's going to have a lot of better days at LSU in conference play. It would not shock me at all if at this time next season, we're talking about him being a number 2 or 3 guy in the starting rotation for LSU and being one of your best arms. Like, the kid's future is incredibly bright. But right there, when you had Griffin Herring waiting in the wings, that was rough. And it was magnified even more by when you did put Herring in, he kept you in the ball game and gave you a chance to come back and win. And every guy after him did the same thing. Like, when I look at LSU's pitching against Auburn, y'all, they were really good. They threw 26 out of 27 great innings this past weekend. And that is an encouraging thing. I know everybody's down on this team because they didn't sweep Auburn, and can they make the NCAA tournament, whatever. We can get into all that. That is an encouraging sign for LSU's pitching to take the steps that they have. I don't care that it's against Auburn. I save your competition. I don't care. Because LSU wasn't pitching this well against, or LSU didn't pitch this well against Southern. Right? Like, you've seen times where the competition hasn't mattered. LSU's just been bad on the mound. So I'm going to take any little positivity that they have to move in the right direction and highlight it. Because, God, you are allowed to get better as the season goes along. This was a weekend filled with a lot of positives. Does it change where you are in the season? Not really. For better or for worse, in my opinion. Two more things on the weekend as a whole, and then I'll try to squeeze some math in here of where they are quickly. If not, we'll break, come back, do it, and bump a few things around on the rundown. I want to talk about the Saturday game for 2 reasons. Number one, I thought that was a huge moment for the team. LSU could have come out on Saturday and ruled Auburn, and I would not have been as happy with the way they won than I was after that game Saturday when they walked them off. Because that was a game that LSU had to learn how to win. That was a game that had haunted them. And they finally came through in spots that they needed to. Auburn mounted one hell of a threat in the 8th inning in a close game with Nate Ackenhausen on the mound, and LSU got out of it. They got off the field with 2 outs. That sound familiar? Like, we don't need to go Florida, Vanderbilt. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That was such a huge spot for them to get off the mound. And then in the bottom of the 9th, when you had a chance to finally put your foot on a team's throat and end it when you had them down, they did it. They got the big hit. That was massive. Now, in turn, that also makes Sunday even more disappointing because you had Auburn in the same spot that you had been in many times this year, coming off of a crushing, rip your heart out type game 2 loss, and you let them off the mat when other teams didn't let LSU off the mat. So that's twofold. But hopefully, now that they've come through in that spot, kind of the next time that they're in it, they can take it and go forward. Hopefully. We'll see. And the other thing, I think Gage Jump's just been awesome the last 2 weeks. And I think he's done it in 2 different ways. You saw one outing where he, 14 strikeouts, 7 innings. He was great. You saw another outing, 6 strikeouts, no walks, shutout ball. A lot of contact, pitch to contact, used his defense. He was awesome. And I think that's huge going forward for them if they can continue to take steps in a positive direction. Let me grab a break. We'll come back. I'll touch on a little bit of the math, where they are, then we'll go around the SEC. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
If you're a business owner, you're going through the hiring rat race, and it's just been tough, especially since COVID. It's been that way for a lot of businesses in basically every different industry. finding qualified people that can or want to work that will stay. If you've had those issues, you need Glow Resources. Glow Resources is not a last resort. They're not a temp staffing agency. Glow Resources works for you, the business owner. And they want to grow that relationship to where you have longevity with them. At Glow Resources, when they place one of their employees within your company, they have a 93% retention rate. And if for whatever reason the employee that they hire for you doesn't work out within 60 days, they'll find you a new employee for free or give you a prorated refund. It's Glow Resources. GLO, glowresources.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Remind you about Michelli Weighing and Measurement, Michelli.com with 30 offices across 11 different states. If you weigh or measure something, Michelli sells, services, rents the products used to weigh and measure. No matter where you are, you can ship your precision measurement devices to Michelli and they'll calibrate them for you, send them back, or they'll just come to your office, pick them up, and bring them back. They can also do on-site calibration. If you have equipment that can't leave or you don't want it to leave, they can come do on-site calibrations as well with their mobile calibration labs. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement, online at Michelli.com. Louisiana-born, Louisiana-owned and operated for 76 years. They've continued to grow, expand their footprint, while maintaining that local ownership, local feel, handshake deals, face-to-face sales. It's Michelli Weighing and Measurement. They're also hiring. Check out the careers tab at Michelli.com. Again, online at Michelli.com. Michelli.com.
All right, welcome back in after further review here on a Monday. Musso in for Moscona. We're going to go around the SEC momentarily, but I did want to finish the LSU baseball conversation a little bit with a look at the math and where they stand, because that's obviously the next question, right? We went through the series against Auburn, things that they did well, and then the disappointment that was Sunday. But everybody wants to know, okay, can they make a run and get into the NCAA tournament? And things change around the country for sure, and that impacts your RPI and things of that nature. Like, if I look at LSU's RPI right now, it's 42. You have a lot of opportunity left on your schedule to increase that. Obviously, you play the number one RPI team in the country and the number one team in the country this weekend at Alex Box Stadium. And before anybody says anything, let me tell you, no, that's not going to go well for LSU. It's not. A&M they've been hitting the cover off the baseball. They have some problems on the mound. They're not elite pitching. They're good and good enough. But even if you mount some offense against them, I still don't know if you can score to them. In fact, I don't think you can score with them. But can you get one game? Sure. And just playing them, like as soon as LSU plays Texas A&M, your strength of schedule is going to go up, and that change is not going to go down because A&M is not going to drop out of the top 5 when it comes to RPI. So that's going to be a big boost for you there. It just is. The rest of it's going to be up to you. So before the second half started, on Musso at the Box, we went through each series, and I gave you a prediction. And LSU came out at 11 conference wins, which is not what anybody wanted to hear. But that's where I had them. I had them taking 2 of 3 from Missouri, had them taking 2 of 3 from Auburn, not sweeping, losing 2 of 3 against A&M, losing 2 of 3 at Alabama, and taking 2 of 3 against Ole Miss. That came out to 11-19. And in that scenario, that would have gotten you into Hoover, which LSU is into the SEC tournament as of today. If the tournament started today, LSU would be either the 12th or 11th seed. I can't remember. But Missouri got swept, and Ole Miss lost a series, and that puts you in. And you still get to play Ole Miss. You control your destiny in getting to Hoover. And my thought process behind that was, okay, if you can get to 11, again, not where anybody wants to be, but then you win 2 games in Hoover, that would get you to 13, and the committee views that as conference wins, and you would probably be in. At that point, going through the schedule you went through, playing the teams you would play in Hoover, your RPI would probably be in the 20s, and you would have 13 conference wins in the eyes of the committees, and you would probably be in as a 3 seed somewhere on the road. Not the standard, not what anybody wants, but you'd be in and have a chance to go make a run. Now I look at you and I see your RPI at 42, and that's not great. Like you took a tumble because you were in the 30s before this weekend. I think it's less about what you did and more about what else happened around the country that kind of helped knock that down. Because Auburn is still a top 50 RPI team. And that's like LSU has 8 wins against the RPI top 50. Not great, but you have 8 wins and you have a chance for more. So that's why I look at LSU and I don't think they're quite dead yet. I don't think it's going to go well against Texas A&M. But if you can get one, that's going to help boost your RPI along with just playing them. But then the rest is up to you. And that's why I focus in on some of the positives that LSU has had, like the pitching, where that's starting to look like the strength of the team like we all thought it would be. Can they continue? I will tell you this. I just kind of ran through it quickly there, right? I thought they'd take 2 of 3 from Auburn and Missouri, lose 2 of 3 against A&M and at Bama, and win 2 of 3 against Ole Miss. LSU playing the way they're playing right now has a chance to win that series on the road at Alabama. And if you do that, that's a quad 1 series win on the road. That is absolutely going to boost your RPI. But the rest is up to you. And if you do that and then take a series against Ole Miss, you're at 12 wins going into Hoover. It's all hypothetical. It's all, what if at this point. But the path is still there. Even losing that game Sunday, I think the path is still there because I think this is the strongest the SEC has been in a long, long time. And no matter who you play on that Tuesday, whether it's the 5 seed in the league or the 6th seed in the league, it's going to be a quad 1 game for you. And if you win it, it's going to boost your RPI. That's why I firmly believe the RPI still will take care of itself. Maybe I'm wrong, but that is still how I look at it. So yes, I still think there's a path for LSU, but it's going to be a grind. It's not the path that anyone here is used to. It's not the path that is acceptable here at LSU, but it's the path that they're on. And all that matters is getting in. And when you get in, can you make a run? Is it likely for this team to make a run? No. But can they? Sure. Because it's baseball and anything can happen. So that's your update on the math. For me, they're still pacing where I thought, and I'm even a little bit more optimistic that maybe they can win that series on the road at Alabama. Let's see how they play against Texas A&M. If LSU goes out there and gets swept on their home field, the conversation is going to be a lot different because that changes the math dramatically. And then you bring in the conversation of, is the run you're making too late? And I think we all know the answer to that question. All right. That concludes the LSU baseball recap, math, where they are. David Deluchi will be here with us at the top of the third hour, and we'll talk a little bit more college baseball, get his thoughts on LSU and what unfolded the rest of the weekend in the Southeastern Conference. Right now, let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference, the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Alabama got a commit from Charlotte defensive back transfer Cameron Howard. He is now a member of the Crimson Tide. Announced that news on Monday. Multiple years of eligibility left for Howard. True freshman last season for the 49ers. Played in 12 games, made 2 starts, 38 tackles, 1 PBU, and 2 interceptions. This, of course, is a big get for Coach Kalen DeBoer after Alabama saw both Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold leave in the draft. And, of course, Caleb Downs transferred to Ohio State. Cameron Howard, the newest defensive back over there in T-Town.
The Tennessee Volunteers.
Tennessee cornerback Christian Conyer has entered the transfer portal. That news courtesy of On3. Spent just 1 season on Rocky Top. He committed to them out of high school. Played in 10 games last season, but only 1 tackle. Largely played special teams and a few snaps on defense. So now he will enter the transfer portal. 3-star prospect out of high school. The number 3 overall prospect in the state of Kentucky and the number 59 cornerback in the nation.
The Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Mississippi State defensive lineman Wilkie Deneau re-enters the transfer portal, I should say. He started his career at Auburn, then entered the portal, committed to Mississippi State in January, went through spring, never played a game for the Bulldogs, and now is back in the portal. It should also be noted that he did face some legal issues this past season. On September 1st, was arrested and charged with larceny after reportedly stealing a scooter valued at $650. So Wilkie Deneau re-enters the transfer portal, no longer a member of the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Wake Forest transfer Andrew Carr has committed to Kentucky. Basketball transfer, I should say. Entered the portal back on tax day. Took a visit to Lexington this past weekend. Decided to shut down his aspirations for the NFL. Left that open while entering the portal. And he will just play his final season at Kentucky. Spent his first 2 years at Delaware. Averaged 9 points, 4 rebounds. Then transferred to Wake Forest. Played in 68 games in Wake Forest over 2 years, averaging 10 and 6. Will now, again, like I said, play his final season at Kentucky. 6'8" a forward is Andrew Carr.
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
And lastly, Vanderbilt running back Diego Benson has entered the transfer portal. That news courtesy of On3. Did not see any playing time for the Commodores last season. 6'1" running back out of Texas in 2023. A 3-star prospect, the number 81 running back in the class. In his high school days, ran for over 3,300 yards and 40 touchdowns. But again, now we'll have multiple eligibility. After just 1 year at Vanderbilt, he hits the portal. That is around the SEC. This is After Further Review. Musso in for Moscona here on this Monday. We're presented by Relief Windows. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. A former LSU Tiger looking to make a comeback in the NFL. We'll tell you about that next here on AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. You know where to find them. GetGordon.com. GetGordon.com. Proud to announce the newest member of the G team, Dominic McKinley, Tiger defensive lineman, 5-star from Acadiana, has joined up on the G team, and we're going to be lucky enough to have Dominic McKinley in studio with us soon, so we look forward to that. Also, Anissa Morrow, remember the Tigers women's basketball team, just did a sit-down with Gordon as part of the G team. So if you want to go check out that interview, it's up on social media at all the different platforms. Point is, Gordon's done a great job engaging in NIL with so many athletes, both male and female, across different sports and different universities, and giving them great opportunities and exposure. We're proud to tell those stories as well here. And if you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 30 years. Go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. You know what to do. Get Gordon and get it done.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
We're brought to you by Supper Club. You book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com. One of the things about Supper Club that I love is if you want to go to Supper Club and be a baller, you can do it. You want to go to Supper Club and order a $5,000 bottle of Chateau Lafite Rothschild, you can do it. You want to go have $400 shots of cognac, you can do it. You can have experiences at Supper Club that usually are reserved for Las Vegas and New York and Paris and Abu Dhabi. Like, that's here in Baton Rouge. But the thing you got to remember as well, if you want to go to Supper Club and have the best steak of your life and have a few appetizers, a dessert, bottle of wine, you can do it as affordably as any other restaurant in town. But the experience at Supper Club is unmatched. introduced open seating at the bar. First come, first serve. So if you knock off of work, you want to head by Supper Club, walk in without a reservation, see if you can grab a bar stool or a table by the bar as well. Have a great dinner, maybe cocktail, close some business. Book your reservation, supperclubbtr.com, supperclubbtr.com.
Jarvis Landry's back on a football field. Great to see Juice back out there looking to make a comeback. Of course, former 5-time Pro Bowler, was obviously great at LSU. He's had plenty of success in the NFL. This is his latest venture. So you'll remember in 2022, Landry with the Saints hit IR in December, really dealt with injuries there. Of course, signed with them after leaving Cleveland, and then sat out all of last year in order to get healthy. Now, Jarvis Landry's getting his next opportunity in Jacksonville. Those Jacksonville Jaguars, they just can't quite get enough of former LSU players these days, can they? I mean, they drafted 3 of them, and now they're bringing in Jarvis Landry. So it's an interesting way that this is going down. Landry will be part of rookie mini camp for the Jaguars, May 14th through the 16th. This is a way for the Jaguars to get a look at Jarvis Landry without making any financial commitment to him. So he'll go there, basically work out, participate with the rookies in mini camp. And if he does well, maybe the Jaguars offer him a roster spot. They've been looking to continue to rebuild that wide receiver room. Obviously, we mentioned them drafting Brian Thomas, but they also signed Gabe Davis in free agency. They're looking to surround Trevor Lawrence with as many weapons as they can, as they should. Jarvis Landry maybe going to be the next one. Rooting for him, y'all. I mean, absolutely rooting for Jarvis Landry. This is a guy who's got over 7,800 receiving yards in his career, 38 touchdowns. I mean, was awesome in his time with Cleveland. Made 5 straight Pro Bowls. Wish it could have gone better for him than it did in New Orleans when he kind of had the homecoming. It didn't. He sat out. Is he finally healthy? We'll see. He'll be in rookie minicamp with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. LSU's got a big defensive tackle target on campus. We'll talk about that next.
AFR.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. When we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding. And now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at ReliefWindows.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. A few more years of the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce connection in Kansas City. The Chiefs and Kelce agreed to a 2-year, $34 million extension, reports ESPN's Adam Schefter, $17 million guaranteed. Schefter's also reporting running back Ezekiel Elliott agreed on a 1-year deal with the Cowboys, max value $3 million. First round NBA playoffs, Nuggets may be without one of their best players. Game 5 versus the Lakers tonight. Point guard Jamal Murray, left calf strain, listed as questionable in the potential series clincher. First Take host, Stephen A. Smith.
Michael Porter Jr., obviously Jamal Murray, them brothers have to show up. They showed up for the first 3 games, didn't really show up in game 4. They got to do that. Jokic is Jokic. He always there. He'll never let you down. But those other guys got to show up. And if Jamal Murray is not there, Jokic usually, they're not the same Denver Nuggets team.
UAB football players said their entire roster has signed up for athletes.org, making them the first full Division I football team to publicly join a budding players association. The team says it has no plans to bargain with their school at this point.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live, U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride.
Hour number 2, after further review, off and running here on a Monday, represented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona, Alondra Villarreal, Paul O'Neill along for the ride as well. Scone out today and tomorrow, who will be back in the chair on Wednesday, so I'm driving you home until then. 1 hour in the books, and man, it flew by. We recapped the Saints draft. We talked LSU series win over Auburn and plenty more. We still have a lot to come. About to get into some LSU football. Cat Terell will be here in the next segment to continue Saints draft talk. We'll talk also a little bit about some remaining holes on the roster that the Saints now look to fill in free agency and whatnot, as rookie mini camp, training camp, and the season fast approaching. All right, let's talk a little bit about LSU football. So obviously right now the spotlight with the Tigers is squarely on the transfer portal, right? You know, spring football wrapped up, finished, done by all accounts. Really successful. The NFL draft now in the rearview mirror. Jaden Daniels is off to Washington. Malik Neighbors to New York. Brian Thomas to Jacksonville, along with two other guys, and Mekhi Wingo's going done. The focus squarely for them has been for a while, but for everybody else now, the only thing you really need to look at, transfer portal for LSU. And when you talk about that, you talk about one position in particular, and that is defensive tackle. Brian Kelly went so far on the record to say, I don't think there's any other position we need to target in the transfer portal other than the defensive tackle position. And so far, LSU has one guy in the boat, and that's Gio Paez from Wisconsin. We had Gio on this show. We've gone through him plenty. When Shea Dixon was with us last week, and Shea talked about defensive tackle, he mentioned wanting to get that number to 3. Like, you have Gio Paez in the boat. They'd like to get to 3. That would mean they have to take 2 more, right? Well, LSU is in the running for the top 2 uncommitted defensive tackles available in the transfer portal, and you should get news on their destination sometime this week. The latest is TCU transfer defensive tackle Dominic Williams. Dominic Williams is on campus today with LSU. He is the top remaining uncommitted defensive tackle in the transfer portal. This is an interesting story with Williams because LSU is squarely in the running, but there has been some changes to his visit schedule and whatnot, so much so that LSU is the last visit. So let's take you through a little bit of that journey and some background on Dominic Williams. I know Shea's been on the show and he's talked about him a little bit already before, but just a refresher. And Shea will be with us tomorrow to give us an update on the latest and all of that. So Dominic Williams has been a 2-year starter at TCU. And there's a lot of reasons to like this guy. Like, a lot of reasons. You can look at all the production he's had, and sure, that stands out fine, whatever. We can go through those numbers. But one of the reasons my eyes perk up or get big whenever I look and read and learn about a guy like Dominic Williams, he's still very raw. Like, you can still mold him, I feel. This is a guy who made his college debut at 17 years old in 2022. He's not even 20 years old yet. And as a 17-year-old at TCU, he started all 15 games for a team that went to the national championship game. They got drubbed by Georgia, but they went to the national championship game. And he was very impressive that year. 27 tackles, 1.5 sacks, like he was 4.5 TFLs. He was all over it. Freshman All-American by multiple publications. Incredible. This is a guy who was not highly recruited. Number 616 overall prospect out of high school when he signed with TCU. That's per on 3. And for him to explode onto the scene like that and then follow it up in 2023 by again starting all 12 of TCU's game, upping his stats, 33 tackles from 27, 5 TFLs from 4.5, 3 sacks from 1.5, again, all Big 12, the Big 12 defensive lineman of the year, like the development that has already taken place for him. And when you can still see so much that's left there to do, just given his age and things like that, like there's plenty more room, and to potentially get him on a, on a team that the room's going to be headed up by Bo Davis. Like, yeah, there's a lot to like when you look at a guy like Dominic Williams from TCU. He's a guy that if you do land him is a immediate plug and play starter, no doubt. So where does LSU stand? Well, told you he's on campus today and will be. This starts his visit. We mentioned there were some changes. So this is kind of how it's gone so far. And a giant hat tip to Shea Dixon over at On 3. Wrote up a great piece today and kind of laid this out. And again, when Shea's with us tomorrow, he can kind of go through a little bit more and update how the visit's going and things of that nature. So Williams kicked things off visiting Oklahoma. He then took a visit to Texas. That wrapped up on Thursday. And from all accounts, it sounds like he was very impressed with Austin. And Texas right now stands to be the team to beat. One of the things you see in recruiting all the time that can tip you off to something like that too is when somebody's schedule or their plans change after they visited a certain place. And that's what happened after he left Austin. So he was originally supposed to visit Colorado this past weekend and then head to LSU. But he scrapped the Colorado visit, moved the LSU visit to now, and instead used the open weekend to go visit Missouri. But in turn, LSU gets the last visit. That's another thing you always see that's big in recruiting, is getting that last visit, whether it's out of high school, whether it's transfer portal, doesn't matter. How many times do you hear guys always mention that? Oh, they got the last visit. You know, they got the last chance to leave an impression. So that's why you can say, yeah, Texas is probably the team to beat right now. He looks like he had a great time. It forced changes to his schedule and all that. But the important thing is, it didn't change the LSU visit to not happening. So that obviously has to be a positive. And now you get him into a room with Bo Davis and, you know, the many, many great recruiters on LSU staff, Frankel's, all those guys with a chance to leave the last impression. It's a good spot for LSU to be in. Not saying they're going to get him. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But they're in the running. And that is, in and of itself, encouraging. Let's see how they can close that out. The other guy to really keep an eye on is obviously Simeon Barrow, the transfer from Michigan State, who we've talked plenty about. And his decision should also be coming sometime this week. He mentioned late last week after his LSU visit wrapped up that he was hoping to make a decision by Thursday or Friday of this current week. So that would be the beginning of May. He's looking to make his decision. Simeon Barrow, of course, like I said, we've talked plenty about him. He ranks as now the number 2 uncommitted defensive tackle in the transfer portal, would also be an immediate plug-and-play guy. I'm not saying LSU is going to get both of these guys, but what LSU can't afford is to not get either of them. Like Simeon Barrow, after he left LSU, ended up taking visits to both Missouri and Miami. It seems like that's a Miami LSU battle, but things are just so fluid in these situations. I guess you never really can tell. But man, it feels paramount that LSU has to get at least one of these guys, because you're in a situation you were in last year, obviously as well, where defensive tackle was a big need for LSU, defensive line in general. I mean, you saw that just with the sheer numbers that they took there out of the portal. But you missed on your top targets. Like Jordan Jefferson ended up being a really nice player for LSU, and he's off now to a career with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Brian Kelly called him their best defensive lineman at points in 2023. But I mean, you were in on the with guys the likes of Braden Fisk, and you lost out to him. You lost out to Florida State for him, I should say. You're back in that same spot. You can't lose out on both of these guys again. It feels paramount for LSU that they at least get one of Simeon Barrow or Dominic Williams, because it just immediately changes your defensive line, like the way a guy, Braden Fisk, would have last year if you could have closed the deal. They're both plug and play from day one, starting in the middle for LSU. If you get both of them, my goodness. But you have to at least get one. And you'll await decisions most likely this week. At least definitely from Simeon Barrow, in short order from Dominic Williams, who is on campus with LSU starting today, Monday, for his last visit here of this cycle, unless something, of course, changes there. But we'll keep you up to date. Again, Shea Dixon will be with us tomorrow, and he'll have the very latest. The portal window is also winding down. The spring portal window. There's only a few days left for guys to enter. Of course, you can commit at any time once you're into the portal, but to enter, it's only a 15-day window, right? And it is nearing its conclusion. So keep your eyes open for anybody potentially more from LSU that might hop in there in the next in the next coming days or so. But that window is definitely shrinking. And it is soon to be closed, and then it'll just be where do guys land. But that's the latest on LSU and their biggest position of need. Big target on campus right now. All right, we're going to grab a break, come back on the other side. We'll switch gears back to the New Orleans Saints. Cat Terell covers the Saints for ESPN. She will be with us. We'll talk draft, remaining holes, get Cat's take on it all. That's next on AFR.
AFR is brought to you by the Watermark Hotel and the Renaissance Hotel, two beautiful hotel properties in Baton Rouge, the Watermark downtown, the Renaissance Southtown right there on Bluebonnet. And when it comes to hosting your event, both the Watermark and the Renaissance are perfect. The Watermark is a gorgeous, elegant spot in downtown Baton Rouge. That wedding reception, that smaller gathering, that meeting space, they can do it. They've kept so much of the history and tradition of that iconic building while modernizing it. The Gregory is a great restaurant inside of the Watermark as well. And then, of course, the Renaissance Hotel, Southtown, right there on Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. It's more modern. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous hotel property at the Renaissance Hotel where they have meeting space that can accommodate up to 500 people, 7,000 square foot of meeting space, perfectly located right off of Bluebonnet and I-10. It's the Watermark and the Renaissance Hotels in Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Back here on a Monday edition of AFR, brought to you by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona. The NFL draft is in the books. The Saints checked a lot of boxes that they normally do. They drafted some needs. They traded up. They took small school guys. All the things that the Saints normally do. Let's recap it all. Cat Terell from ESPN joins us. She's on Twitter at @Cat_Terrell. Covers the Saints. Cat, we appreciate the time. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. There's a lot to go through with this draft for the Saints. I just want to start kind of with a broad overview from you, though. Your take on their class as a whole here in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did exactly what they needed to do. They didn't waste too much draft capital by trading up. They, got an offensive tackle, which is by far their biggest need. I thought cornerback is probably going to be a big need either this year or next year, depending on what happens with Marshawn Lattimore. So I really thought that the first two picks were, kind of exactly what they needed. And then Dennis Allen said he kind of looked at the last picks as developmental prospects, which is kind of interesting way to put it. Day 3 prospects are developmental prospects almost always, in some, with the exception of some circumstances. But it's kind of interesting that he said that, just because, I think that this team isn't a team where every spot is full, and they have the luxury of not drafting guys who can contribute right away. But I do think that a couple of these guys probably will find spots pretty quickly in the lineup.
We're going to go through a lot of them here momentarily, but I did want to kind of ask, were you at all surprised that they didn't trade up from the 5th round? Like, that they actually stood pat after trading up 4 spots in the 2nd round, never made a pick in round 3 or 4?
Maybe a little, just because that tends to be their MO, and they even admitted it was really hard for them to do. I think once they got to 4, I figured they would kind of stand pat at that point. But yeah, I was a little surprised they didn't try to move up to maybe 3, but, maybe they just didn't find a trade that they felt comfortable with.
All right, let's get into a few of the guys. You mentioned Taliesin Fuanga, of course, the offensive tackle they took with 14 overall. And, man, it was interesting to hear Dennis Allen talk about him after, and even Jim Nagy about could he play right tackle or left tackle. I think everyone's immediate thought when they see him and they see that he spent most of the time at right tackle, given the health issues that Ryan Ramczyk has. I mean, you can definitely infer something there. I mean, do you think it's more of a indictment on what they feel like they can get out of Ryan Ramczyk, or do they really believe they can just flip him over to the left side of the line and let him play there?
Well, I think that even if Ramczyk finds a way to play this year and get through a whole season, we're still looking at a short-term career here, in my opinion. I think that it's going to be a problem that, he has deteriorating cartilage in his knee. It's not really fixable. Maybe you can get through a season. So even if you're thinking he can get through 2024, there's absolutely no guarantee he could get through 2025. So you have to address it, especially when you're looking at a position where you need a tackle on both sides, and it is very hard to just go out and find the next great tackle. I mean, you saw a number of tackles go off the board in the 1st round for a reason. So, maybe they were looking at left tackle and they just couldn't work with how the board fell. So I think that they feel confident that he probably can play on either side, but, they're probably thinking that he is Ramczyk's replacement eventually, whether, that's this year or next year.
So what do they do at the other tackle spot in that regard then? Because, I mean, look, they take the guy out of Eastern Kentucky in the 7th round, but we just got done talking about how that's developmental, right, on day 3. Right. Is this obviously the next question would be free agency, but is it as simple as bringing back Andres Pete, or do they potentially maybe look elsewhere there?
I don't know. They seem pretty dismissive about Andres Pete right now, which I find kind of interesting. Last time Mickey Loomis was asked about him, he just said, well, he's a free agent, which is typically what he says when, he doesn't really want to discuss it and also doesn't want to insult the player. So it kind of feels like they've moved on, but, that's just me inferring. So even if they did re-sign him, they'd still have to account for all the dead money. So it's not like even if they signed Pete for, minimum, that he would count minimum against the cap. Because his contract's voided, he would count a lot against the cap. So that is one thing. I mean, they might not care, but I think they will kind of look at all options. They did add players in free agency. I don't think they've given up on Trevor Penning yet, and I don't think they should. It's year 3, and a critical year for him. But I think, as they said, he was a small school player, so, there is going to be a learning curve there. So I don't think they've given up on him, but I also think they're trying to be realistic and explore all their options and not just try to force, well, Penning was a 1st rounder, so we're, again, going to try to start him if he's not ready and if he's not there yet.
Speaking of Mickey Loomis at his most recent media availability there, previewing the draft, he was asked about Marshawn Lattimore and if he'll be on the roster, and he said yes. And then I believe it was you, actually, who followed up wanting more on that, and Mickey admitted to trying to avoid the question. And then they go draft Kool-Aid McKinstry. What does that mean, if anything, for Marshawn Lattimore this year in New Orleans?
Yeah, initially when he said that, I was surprised that people just kind of let that go because – yeah, I think he is kind of looking at it from a perspective of, well, I'm going to say yeah because I'm always expecting anyone to be on the team until they're not, I guess, or until someone makes us a good offer. So it was interesting that he did that because he's been around forever. He has to know by saying that creates a huge headline. Marshawn Lattimore on the team in 2024, that means he's not getting traded. I think that they understand that it will be difficult to trade him. His contract is significant, and so another team would have to want to both pick up the contract and give the Saints something acceptable in return. Not to mention he's been hurt 2 years in a row. There are a lot of variables, so I think that they're just trying to say as little as possible, honestly. That's probably why he's trying to avoid the question. He doesn't want to add fuel to the fire or just say anything that could, make the situation worse if Lattimore indeed is on the team in 2024. But, once you look at Lattimore's contract next year, it becomes significantly easier to move on from that. So it's probably the same thing as the tackle situation. Even if it's not a starting situation this year, then maybe it is for next year. So I do think that those two were good picks in that they filled a need and probably could help fill a future need. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words today.
That happens to the best of us. You should have heard me in the first segment. Cat Terell is our guest. She's on Twitter at @Cat_Terrell, covers the Saints, obviously for ESPN. Cat, maybe the most intriguing pick the Saints made was their first one in round 5 when they took Spencer Rattler. Is Spencer Rattler the favorite to win the backup quarterback job?
Yeah, that one is intriguing. It makes me wonder how they truly feel about Jake Haener. And there's a lot of different ways you could go with why they made that pick. They were saying, well, he was just the highest rated player on the board, which is an easy thing to say, an easy reason to give. Maybe they don't like what they've seen out of Haener, or maybe they just think, well, we had a lot of fifth-round picks. We want the best guy for the backup job, and if these two can compete for it and we can develop them, then there's nothing wrong with that. Because a lot of people will say, well, it's a wasted pick, but I mean, let's be honest. On day 3, a ton of picks are wasted picks. It just gets more scrutiny because it's a quarterback. So I'm really intrigued. I feel like they would find some way to keep them all around, whether it's practice squad. I guess you could put Rattler and Haener on the active roster. I mean, this is really premature, but I mean. I don't know. I don't think one of these veterans are going to be on the active roster. I think that maybe they keep a veteran on the practice squad. I mean, it's not a bad idea to have a vet around with these young guys, but usually you don't see 2 young guys on the active roster because having 3 quarterbacks is kind of a luxury. Having 2 of those be developmental guys, I don't know if I can recall a situation where I've seen that recently. Now I'm going to have to go check and find that out because I'm kind of intrigued.
So, When you say keep all of them, you don't mean like Peterman and all 5, right?
Yeah, not all 5.
Okay.
When I say all of them, I mean Haener, Rattler, and Carr, and then maybe you keep a veteran on the practice squad, or you have him in a situation where you can call on him. Sometimes some teams do that, even if they're not on the roster. I think that would probably be overkill, though. It's so hard to say when we didn't see Haener play last year, and he was suspended the first 6 games of the season, right? So I'd be surprised if they just thought after 1 year they're moving on. But it does happen. But with this team, we've just seen it happen so few times because despite what Dennis Allen said, him saying we drafted quite a few quarterbacks when Drew Brees was here. That's not the case. They actually barely ever drafted quarterbacks when Brees was there. So it's just kind of unknown territory for people that have watched this team in recent memory.
It's one of the more intriguing storylines, honestly, for me to watch as the offseason goes on, that backup spot, because it's been such an important position for the Saints the last, 5-6 years? I mean, with the end of Breeze's career, and then, of course, with Jameis going down with the ACL, and then Derek Carr last year. I mean, they've always had that veteran, and now where you could be looking at two, young guys, it's kind of uncharted territory for them in more than a half decade. So that's why I look at that and I go, they keep bringing in guys to kind of compete, you'd think, with Jake Haener. And, it's like, man, can anyone unseat him? Where do they go there? So it's just, that one's going to be fun to watch kind of throughout camp. Cat, we touched on offensive tackle. After looking at this draft, whether it be through free agency or guys you kind of already have or whatnot, what are the biggest remaining holes for the Saints roster so far?
Safety, maybe. I think you look at Matthew, and he's going to be the starter this year. Added another year in his contract, but still took a pay cut to do so. So you're not really looking at Matthew as a really long-term guy, as much as that I'm sure pains people to listen to. Although you never know with Tyron. So maybe I'm completely wrong, and he plays several more years. But you still have to account for it. So with May gone, and then Matthew, not knowing how long he'll play, I think it's probably always a good idea to keep adding DBs. Dennis Allen loves to say you can never have too many cornerbacks. I think a lot of times, sometimes they go with less safeties than cornerbacks, but I think as a whole, you probably never have too many DBs. So they might keep looking at that. That would be the one spot I would say, well, maybe they want to just keep looking on the market just to add some depth.
She is Cat Terell, ESPN.com, covers the Saints on Twitter at @Cat_Terrell. Good enough to spend some time with us here today, recapping Saints draft, looking at remaining holes, things of that nature. Rookie minicamp next up on the docket for the New Orleans Saints, season fast approaching. Cat, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to grab a break here, but first, Alondra, see? You thought I forgot.
I was like, no. I thought you forgot for sure. 100%. I thought you forgot.
I didn't. Look, I wrote it down on my rundown to toss to Alive. I even put an asterisk next to it so I wouldn't forget. We're there. So
never a doubt.
Never. Well, no, there was. No, you're a liar. Yeah, there was a doubt.
There's hella doubt.
You were waving your arm.
Like,
no. There was absolutely a doubt.
True.
All right, we're going to grab a break. But first, Matt's going to tell you about First South Farm Credit.
We're brought to you by First South Farm Credit. Go to firstsouthland.com. If you're thinking of buying land, go to firstsouthland.com. They're the best. First South Farm Credit. They've been in business since 1916. You've heard our buddy Ben McDonald talk about his experience. Ben's got some hunting property in Mississippi. Finance that land through First South Farm Credit. It doesn't matter if you live in Houma and you want to buy land in Mississippi, or if you live in Baton Rouge and you want to buy land in Zachary, if you live in Monroe and you want to buy land in Alexandria, or wherever it may be, in Louisiana or any of the 48 contiguous states, First South Farm Credit can help you buy land. That recreational property, maybe your hunting property, if it's the property to buy to build your dream home, or if it's 1,000 acres for agriculture, First South Farm Credit should be your first call. Go to the website at firstsouthland.com. That's firstsouthland.com. One more time, firstsouthland.com.
All right, y'all, we are halfway home here already on a Monday. I mean, we have covered a lot and still have plenty to get to. We haven't even touched on the undrafted free agents that the Saints brought in, and there's two of them that I find really, really intriguing. We're going to get to that in the third hour. Of course, David Deluchi still to come, and the Pels, their season is on the line. It is win or go home, and man, not only that, they're trying to avoid being swept on their own home floor here in the first round of the playoffs. Jake Madison is going to join us to talk about if and how they can accomplish that, not being swept on their own home floor. So, I mean, we still have a ton to get you. We haven't even touched on the LSU guys that got drafted, because I think a couple of their destinations are really interesting as well. So y'all stick with us. Halfway home, halfway to go, and just as much information coming your way. It's a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Stay here.
AFR.
Brought to you by Action Industries. Make sure you check them out online, on Facebook, or on LinkedIn. It's Action Industries. And, of course, when you're at the box. Every single game, all year long, out at the box. If you see a mound visit, those mound visits all season long are brought to you by Action Industries. Action Industries is a great industrial contractor that served the petrochemical and refinery markets, all the plants up and down the river for 40 years, since 1982, going on 41 years now in business. And listen, there's two things that I've learned talking to Chuck and all the gang over there at Action Industries. Number one, you do not get hired to work in those plants if you don't have an exemplary safety record. At Action Industries, their safety record beats the industry standard, and you don't get rehired if you don't do quality work. Well, Action Industries has been around for 40 years. Check them out online. It's Action Industries.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Don't be so quick to walk away. It's me. I wanna rock your body. Please stay. It's me. You don't have.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Brought to you by Shawbills Tire and Auto Service, ShawbillsTire.com. 18 locations in South Louisiana. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Bumper-to-bumper auto service and name brand tires at wholesale prices. They will always find a way to get you the best possible price for the best possible tires on the road. That's what they do at Shawbills. And when they get you in by selling you the best tires, the cheapest price possible, they're going to treat you like family, and they're going to treat you so good, you're going to keep coming back year after year after year, every time you need anything for your vehicle. Tires rotated, oil changed, check engine light on, brakes squeaking, whatever's wrong with your vehicle, bring it to Shawbills, let them give it the once-over, and you can always schedule online, so it's convenient. ShawbillsTire.com. Find the location nearest you at ShawbillsTire.com. Shop tires online at ShawbillsTire.com. Be sure to ask about the Shawbills credit card as well, because you can save $50 off your first purchase when you use the Shawbills credit card only at Shawbills.
All right, a couple things I want to touch on here in this segment. Let's start with a brief thumbnail on the New Orleans Pelicans. Jake Madison will be here in a little less than an hour, about 51, 52 minutes or so from right now. And he'll give us a much more comprehensive preview. But the Pelican season could very well come to an end tonight. They're down 3-0 to the Thunder in round 1 of the playoffs, and they're on their own home floor. And the Pelicans have just struggled mightily at home. really kind of the last week or so, maybe a little bit more in the regular season, and obviously here play in and now in the playoffs. There's been a lot of things that have gone wrong for New Orleans in this series. There's been plenty issues. You could talk about a foul disparity as well a little bit in this, but you could talk about that for New Orleans all year long. You can definitely talk about turnovers, and Willie Green was asked plenty about turnovers, especially after the last game against the Thunder. But one thing that's also evident is New Orleans has not been able to put the ball through the basket. And, I mean, look, yes, the Thunder are a very good defensive team. They absolutely are. We're not going to take anything away from that. Defense always ratchets up in the playoffs. Like, you hear that all the time in the NBA. All of that is true. But New Orleans has shot 40% or better one time in these 3 games. They have not cracked 100 points yet in this series. It has been rough shooting the basketball for the New Orleans Pacific. Brandon Ingram does not have a 20-point game. In fact, the Pelicans only have 2 players that have cracked the 20-point threshold so far, C.J. McCollum and Trey Murphy, both in game 1 of this series, where the refrain after that game from Willie Green was, we had open shots, we just didn't make them. Well, what's been happening since then? You had 2 guys, 20 points. Well, Willie Green was asked, hey, how do you fix the problem of the ball not going through the basket?
Make sure our guys understand that the weight of the world is not on your shot. Like, you're open, shoot the ball. Guys been doing it all season. They put the work in. Be confident in it. Let's make sure we focus on our execution offensively. They're a tough team. Give them credit. They came in, and as tough as we tried to play them defensively, it got away from us with the turnovers and the lack of our ability to knock down shots.
We said it right at the top there. Yeah, they are. They're a tough team, and you give them credit, man. They're playing hard, too. They want to win. But at some point, you've got open shots, you've got to make them. It's the NBA. Like, I know that sounds really oversimplifying and just really easy, and it's much easier said than done, and I get it, but the turnovers are also a point of that. I mean, you're just giving away possessions. There are 21 turnovers for the Pelicans in the last game. They lost by 21 points. I mean, it's not apples to apples there, but you add in 21 turnovers and shooting 38%. You're not shooting the ball well enough to give away possessions at the clip that the Pelicans are doing that. And you add all of that in, and you get a 32-point loss in game 2, a 21-point loss in game 3, and you haven't cracked 100 points, and Brandon Ingram has really struggled, and that has been really disappointing because when Zion goes down, you really need Ingram to step up, and it just hasn't really been there, whether that's because of aggressiveness or physicality or whatever the reason. It has to change, and it has to change tonight, or the season's going to be over, and it's going to be a tough one to swallow. Like, I remember when they beat the Kings in the play-in to get in, I had tweeted, I'm like, look, it's not how any of us thought they'd get there, but the Pelicans are in the playoffs, and that's the most important thing here. Because if they would have lost out, if they would have completely missed out after 49 regular season wins, like the regular season that they had, getting all those games out of Zion, and yes, he went down in the play-in, and I understand that. It's incredibly unfortunate. And the series is undoubtedly different if Zion is out there. Are they winning it? No, but it's different. It's definitely, at least looks different. That's for sure. So all of that to say, but they got in, and that was massive. But you've also seen them in this kind of position before, recently, where they win a play-in, they get in, they don't have Zion. They're playing the 1 seed, and they gave the Phoenix Suns all they wanted that year. You get swept, and yeah, man, that's going to be disappointing. Like, sure, there's reasons, and there are understandable reasons, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be disappointing. Because this was a year that it looked like you could avoid the play-in altogether, and you didn't, but you made it out of that. And if you get swept, and especially swept at home, that's going to be a really tough one to just sit back and be like, well, on the next year, you have to really sit back and kind of reevaluate expectation and where you are, because I think everyone thought how this one was playing out, the expectation could be get in, have some success, and then next year see if you can't really put it together and maybe make a run. But they don't seem like they're right there on that doorstep. So Jake Madison will be here at 5:30. We'll get a preview and some keys to the games, and also kind of look back at the series up until this point, man. But hopefully the Pelicans can come through tonight and at least extend the series a little bit and avoid the sweep. They're not going to come back and win it. I mean, no team has ever come back from 3-0 in the history of the NBA. So, it seems inevitable, but can they at least prolong it a little bit, maybe, and put up a bit of a fight? We'll see. All right. Switching gears a little bit here. Did want to talk a little bit about the LSU guys being drafted, and then we'll hit a break and do Tigers and the Pros. Just kind of a quick thumbnail here on that. So LSU had 6 players drafted. They've had plenty more signed undrafted free agent deals. We'll catch you up on all that in Tigers in the Pros. A couple things that are obviously noteworthy for LSU football in the draft. Look, we know Jaden Daniels going number 2 overall. That's great. I'm incredibly excited to watch Daniels at the next level in the NFL. See what he can do, in Washington, which traditionally, as of late at least, hasn't been a great spot. But you got new ownership. You've got a new head coach there now. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and see what he can do. Neighbors is obviously going to be really fun to watch in New England. There's going to be the obvious comparison to Odell Beckham there, right? With that, and Brian Thomas, same thing. The interesting thing in regard to receiver is LSU since 2000, with Thomas and Neighbors getting selected, LSU since 2000 has now had the most wide receivers drafted. They've passed Ohio State. There's 21 for LSU now. Ohio State was at 20, leading the pace. LSU now has put the most wide receivers in the league in the last 24 years. And that's awesome. And it's very well deserved. It's incredible to think about, considering for the majority of that, quarterback play at LSU was a wasteland. And I mean, you could just continue to get guys like Odell, like Jarvis, like Malachi Dupree, like all of those guys here, and put them into the league. And a lot of them having really good careers. I mean, look, Brandon LaFell is part of that. Brandon LaFell had a really good career in the NFL. Odell Beckham, obviously, Jarvis Landry. You look at what Chase and Jefferson are doing. Like, you can go back. So that's awesome, man. And it's only going to, and you got more coming. Like, Kyron Lacey could very well be the next guy in line there, or whether it's, Xavier Thomas, Chris Hilton. I mean, go down the list. There's plenty. So that's awesome. That's only going to help further get skill players to Baton Rouge. And I mean, you can start printing the wide receiver U shirts now, and nobody can really argue with you in that regard. And then the other thing that I find really interesting is the number of guys that will end up in Jacksonville, where Brian Thomas went, Mason Smith, and good old Mason Smith, y'all, to be taken there in the second round like he was. It's easy to look at his career at LSU and be a little disappointed, and that's fair. I mean, coming out ranked by some services the number 1 player in the country, definitely the number 1 defensive tackle. I mean, because it's this 5-star from Louisiana. You saw the potential there as a freshman, and then the injury against Florida State, that stunk. And I just, you never got the best out of him here, and that's unfortunate from an LSU perspective. But that's a kid who's immensely talented and looks like he's finally healthy. And you saw him kind of emerge late in the season for LSU last year. And it looks like he's finally healthy. And he tested great at Pro Day at the Combine and moved up draft boards. And that's awesome. And we will see, obviously, how he does there now in Jacksonville. Same thing with Jordan Jefferson, man. The guy bet on himself, entered the transfer portal. Wasn't highly heralded coming into LSU out of the portal, but we mentioned it earlier. I mean, Brian Kelly called him their best defensive lineman at some point, and he gets taken. And then I think the Lions got great value with Mekhi Wingo in the 6th round. Like, I mean, there were people who thought Mekhi Wingo could have been a late day 2 pick potentially there in the 3rd round. He falls all the way to the 6th round. That's just going to be tremendous value. And I'm happy that he gets to go to what looks like, obviously, a contender with the Lions coming off an NFC Championship appearance. You're never guaranteed to go back, but a guy like Mekhi Wingo could definitely help you. It also is interesting that the guys in Jacksonville are reunited with Matt House. He's coaching linebackers there. So there'll be a familiar face, not named Brian Thomas, for those guys. And so look, man, not the normal quantity of guys you expect from LSU in the draft, but the ones who got picked, really excited for them. And really intrigued with just about everybody's landing spot, particularly Daniels and Wingo out of that. And then we'll get to the undrafted guys, like I said, in Tigers and the Pros, which is coming up next. There was plenty of them: Andre Sam, Charles Turner, Omar Spates. Like you had 6 guys drafted, but a lot of guys starting their professional career. Let's grab a break. We'll come back on the other side and wrap it up with Tigers and the Pros here on Monday's AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-001-752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. I love sharing 5-star Google reviews. Here's one from Ricky Gomez, who said Chris, his technician, was very professional and knowledgeable during the HVAC evaluation. He provided details and recommendations in a clear and concise manner. That's one of the things that always stands out. If you're having an issue with your AC or your heater, and River City's 1 Hour Air sends out a technician for an evaluation, they're going to explain your options to you. And that may sound simple, but like none of it, like I don't know anything about an HVAC, neither do you. Let's be honest. So whenever they go get up in your attic or they go look at your HVAC unit on the side of your house and they come talk to you, like they're going to explain very clearly what's happening and your options to remedy it. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. 752-0001.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 9.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
All right, back here after further review on a Monday presented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona. If you're watching on the 104.5 ESPN YouTube channel, go ahead and smash the like button. Get subscribed up to the channel as well, if you don't mind. Wrapping up hour number 2 here on AFR. We'll do it with Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, we'll get it started with some of the undrafted free agents that now have new homes. Start with Ovie Oghoufo. Ovie Oghoufo signs an undrafted free agent deal with the New York Giants. Of course, just the 1 year at LSU after transferring over from Texas. Now will join Malik Neighbors up there in New York. Omar Speights, 1 year at LSU, of course, out of Oregon State. Now a member of the Los Angeles Rams, signing an undrafted free agent deal there. Of course, the Rams have been known for defense. See if Omar Speights can carve out a role over there in Hollywood and find his way there on the defensive side of the ball. Andre Sam, after 1 year with LSU, off on an undrafted free agent deal, member of the Philadelphia Eagles. See if he can't find a roster spot up there in Philly. Noah Cain, joining familiar faces from LSU up in Cincinnati, an undrafted free agent deal with the Bengals. Of course, he'll be up there with Joey B and Jamar Chase. And then Charles Turner. Charles Turner's a New England Patriot, signing an undrafted free agent deal with the new look Patriots. Definitely a new era up there in Foxborough now that Bill Belichick no longer running the show. So Charles Turner will start his NFL career, I should say, under Gerard Mayo. Major League Baseball action. Jake Fraley was back in the lineup. He'd been dealing with an illness with the Cincinnati Reds. Gonna have to get his bearings back about him. 0 for 4, hat trick there. 3 strikeouts for Fraley in that one. Alex Bregman turning in a really nice day. 2 for 4 for the Astros. Drove in a run and scored a run as well. And then Naz Reid, the Timberwolves, they finished off the Suns in a 4-game sweep. 8 points, 3 boards for Naz in 20 minutes off the bench. That is Tigers in the Pros. We are due for a top of the hour break. We'll come back on the other side. David Deluchi from the SEC Network will be here. We'll recap the week that was in the Southeastern Conference.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Optimize. Go to generatorpeople.com, generatorpeople.com. You want a Generac automatic home standby generator? Let me rephrase. Of course you do. So why should you go with Optimize? 2 reasons. Number 1, the affordability. They have financing options to fit any budget, and you get your upfront quote price, meaning whatever they quote you on site. It's not like they're going to come back later and there's going to be fees and install fees and techs. And no. Whatever that number is that they quote you, boom, that's it. Turnkey installation. When they're done, it is ready to roll if the power goes out. Number 2, that's all they do at Optimize. They're not an electrical business that does 10 different things. They do one thing. They sell, service, and install Generac automatic home standby generators. They got 4 locations across the 10-12 corridor. So it doesn't matter if you're in Lake Charles, Slidell, or any point in between. They are Louisiana's #1 Generac dealer. Optimize. Go to generatorpeople.com. Easy website, generatorpeople.com.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Travis Kelce's not riding off into the sunset with Taylor Swift just yet. The All-Pro tight end agreed on a 2-year, $34 million extension with the Chiefs, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter, $17 million guaranteed. Schefter also reports the Cowboys and running back Ezekiel Elliott agreed on a 1-year deal. Nuggets point guard Jamal Murray questionable. Game 5 of the first-round NBA playoff series tonight against the Lakers due to a calf strain. Denver's only 1 win away from moving on to round 2. But won't get that victory tonight, believes ESPN NBA analyst Kendrick Perkins.
They have no answer for Anthony Davis. He has been torching the Denver Nuggets and Jokic this series. And if you could get a little bit out of Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell, just need them to be good. If they could be good and get you around 15 points apiece, the Lakers are going to win this game 5.
NHL Seattle fired coach Dave Hextall after the franchise took a significant step back following a playoff run in its second season. Twin shortstop Carlos Correa set to return from a strained rib cage tonight against the White Sox.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. At Progressive, they're making things even easier. They'll help you bundle your home and car insurance together so you can save on both. Learn more at Progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios.
Let's ride!
Hour number 3 of After Further Review, off and running here on a Monday, presented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona, Alondra Villarreal, and Paul O'Neill along for the ride as well. 2 hours in the books and 1 more to go. Still jam-packed here. Talk some Pels and Thunders. The Pels try to avoid being swept on their home floor and eliminated from the playoffs. Jake Madison will be here at the bottom of this hour to give us a preview of that stuff. Touch on the Saints undrafted free agent class as well, because there's 2 names in particular in there that could make some noise for the black and gold and find themselves on the roster come regular season time down there in the Big Easy. But for now, we do it every week here on Monday at around 5 o'clock. We talk with David Deluchi of the SEC Network, recap the week that was in SEC baseball. It was another week dominated by home teams in the Southeastern Conference. He's on Twitter at David Deluchi. How are we today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, look, let's start locally here with LSU. The Tigers take 2 of 3 from Auburn, but that game 3 left a pretty bad taste in some mouths around here after LSU looked poised to pick up a sweep that would have definitely flipped some math in their favor. What was your biggest takeaway this weekend watching LSU Auburn?
Yeah, so I was pulling for LSU to get the sweep just like everybody else because I just think it would have made the path to the SEC tournament and potentially the NCAA tournament a lot easier. Unfortunately, as things unfolded, Cade Anderson got the start. I think the injury to Nate Atkinson was one that is going to be significant if it goes on for the next couple weeks. LSU's backs just did not show up in Game 3, but the good part was you've got two great back-to-back outings by Gage Jump. I think he's got 14 scoreless innings in a row, and so now you're looking at the ability to win series. Unfortunately, what LSU needs now is to sweep one of these next coming up series, and as I look across, LSU's kind of running a parallel path with Ole Miss because of who they just played. Ole Miss just played Alabama. LSU will play Alabama. LSU is going to play A&M, and then ultimately LSU is going to meet Ole Miss toward the end. So kind of watching what Ole Miss is doing against similar foes. You're watching what LSU is doing against similar foes, and it's hard to predict, but unfortunately you're now trying to win games and scoreboard watch at the same time.
David, Game 3 for LSU has been a big issue. They've won one Game 3 since March 3rd. Can you pinpoint one main reason why they've struggled so much to end series?
I don't. It's a great question, and more often than not, your Game 3, because you have everybody in the SEC has a ace, and then they have a very good number 2, and oftentimes it's TBA, to be announced, because teams just can't decide on who is left over or who can they use for that Game 3. So you leave Game 3 up to your offense, and typically that's a high-scoring game, and the best offenses win. And we know that LSU has had difficulties throughout the course of the year to get that offense rolling, and this was just a typical week. Would have thought, looking at the numbers, that LSU would have been able to get to Carson Myers, but he threw a tremendous game, man, going 4 innings, only allowed 4 earned runs. I don't think it's necessarily who LSU is putting on the mound in Game 3. It's more of when can they get that big rally going? When can that offense continue on that Sunday game or that Game 3 to pull them through on a victory where the pitching is not going to be there?
You mentioned the path to the NCAA tournament. Of course, they'll have to probably have a pretty good showing in the SEC tournament to do that. It got a little tougher not sweeping Auburn. Confidence level from you right now that LSU can make the NCAA tournament still with 3 series left to go, and one of them being against Texas A&M.
Yeah, look, man, this Texas A&M team is complete. They're top 3 hitters are the best 1, 2, and 3 hitters in the country. And then the last couple of weeks, all of a sudden you're looking at Jackson Appel and Caden Terrell, Ted Burton. Their 5, 6, 7 hitters are exploding. So there's no holes in the lineup. Their pitching staff, starting pitching is very good, and their relievers are outstanding. You look at that and you're like, okay, we're going to have to give it the best that the Tigers have, try to win 2 out of 3. And then you look ahead, Alabama is a very good team. They took 2 or 3 from Ole Miss this weekend, and then you got Ole Miss looming in that last series. So for LSU, obviously you want to win every single game, but this weekend, in my opinion, is the do or die. You absolutely cannot get swept, and you must get 2 victories to kind of solidify your way into the SEC tournament. I believe if LSU gets into the SEC tournament, it's kind of like Baton Rouge North, right? They have great turnouts with the crowd. They play really well in Hoover. You just got to get there. And who's above LSU right now? Auburn is, or below LSU. Auburn is almost out of it. You have Missouri and you have Ole Miss that you're competing against. So this weekend, huge. But you got to keep an eye on Ole Miss and Missouri and see what they do. And I just think Ole Miss has got too many injuries and they're too inconsistent. So it's all in LSU's hands to get this series win this weekend.
Let's continue and kind of look around the league a little bit. We'll start with Texas A&M for a lot of reasons. They're impressive, and they're LSU's next opponent. You know, there's an old adage in baseball that you can show up to the park every day and see something that you've never seen before. In game number 2 in College Station, Georgia jumped out 9-0. Not only did Georgia not win the game, they got run ruled after jumping out to a 9-0 lead. Does A&M have any holes?
Not right now. I mean, it's unreal what these guys are capable of, and I think that what I got from that game is a full team with the mentality of we will not lose no matter what. Because oftentimes when you go down 9-0 in the first inning, a lot of the players on your team, just their concentration starts wandering off. And especially if you're going to play a doubleheader, you're kind of like, all right, what can we do to win the next game? Or where are we going out to eat dinner tonight? Or, you just lose focus. And to come back and score 19 unanswered runs and go from 9-0 and then get the run rule is just amazing, man. And look, there was about 2 or 3 hitters in that lineup that were working 12, 13, 14 pitch at bats. So when these guys show up to the ballpark, they are on you from the first pitch to the last.
Yeah, it's going to be a really big challenge, to say the least, for LSU when A&M rolls in here. Looking elsewhere in the league, I want to kind of focus on the race for the league title here because you've got 4 teams kind of jumbled, all vying for it. Arkansas, Texas A&M, obviously, Kentucky, and Tennessee. When I look at Kentucky, David, how similar is this to last year? I mean, Kentucky got off to a hot start early. They hit the back half of conference play, and they came down to earth a little bit. They got off, obviously, to a hot start this year, and they've lost their first 2 series on the back half, and they have a date with Arkansas looming. When you look at the race for the overall crown, which of those 4 teams do you think has the inside track right now with 3 weeks left?
So I think actually A&M is the team that's got the best route to win it all. Kentucky's got the most difficult schedule, and Tennessee probably has the offense that can produce the biggest numbers. But gosh darn it, it's just hard to believe that A&M at this point of the season is going to find a slump either offensively or in the pitching staff. Kentucky, look, let's face it, Kentucky is 2 wins away from being able to be a top 8 seed. And I think in their minds, that's what they're looking for. Obviously, they'd want to win it all, but it's going to be very difficult for them. Arkansas, in my opinion, has got a great pitching staff. They're very comfortable with winning close games, but I just don't think they have the offensive firepower to pull this thing out. So I think the 2 favorites are the teams with the best offenses, and that's A&M and Tennessee. And if you look at the pitching staffs, A&M's got the edge right now.
Who has the better offense, A&M or Tennessee?
Oh, that's a great question. Unfortunately, we're not going to see it in the regular season. It would be a great battle between the 2, but gosh darn, I guess it depends on who's got the home field advantage. Mm-hmm. Tennessee hits really, really good at their park. So it's where you play the game that would probably depend on who the victor is, but they're both even.
Maybe we'll get it in Omaha. Maybe we'll see that matchup in Omaha at the Schwab, a park that could definitely stifle some offenses, and that could be a great test. That definitely be a matchup that I would want to see, because in a league that's got potent offenses, those 2 have definitely seemed to rise to the top for sure. Anything else that really stood out this weekend to you in the SEC that we haven't covered?
The team that has kind of been right on the verge of busting out is Mississippi State, and I think this was a signature series win for State, going and beating Vanderbilt, who is a team that prides itself on solid pitching. State was held back by the SEC Pitcher of the Week, Bryce Cunningham, in Game 1, who threw a tremendous complete game, and then that offense erupted, man. The State's offense has timely hitting and a very good pitching staff this year. So that would be the team that could very well sneak into the NCAA tournament, possibly host if they continue a hot streak and maybe do some damage where people had counted them out early on in the season. I think they're alive and well.
I was going to ask you that if you thought they could backdoor their way into a host spot, because I mean it looks like you definitely have the team solidified: Arkansas, A&M, Tennessee, Kentucky, but there's always 5, maybe even 6, and State's definitely I feel like with you there in that conversation. So big turnaround there for Chris Lemonis. The narrative has changed there. It was he needs to start looking for a house, and now they could host now they could host a regional. So
true.
They're back there in Starkville. David Deluchi with us every Monday here on AFR. You can find him on Twitter at David Deluchi, and of course on RallyCap on the SEC Network. David, we appreciate the time. We'll do it again next week, hopefully after LSU pulls an upset.
That's right. That would be great. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. We're going to grab a break, come back on the other side, but first, Matt's going to tell you about Lee Michaels.
Quick reminder about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. They're the best. If you are, gentlemen, thinking about popping the question and you're thinking about where am I going to go buy that diamond, I want you to consider this. There are places that will sell you man-made lab diamonds, but what are you buying? It's according to its makeup and characteristics, sure, diamond. But is it going to hold its value? Like, is that the way you want to say, I love you, I want to spend the rest of my life with you? Go to Lee Michaels. Go to Lee Michaels. Walk in the door. Experience the thing I talk about all the time, which is the Lee Michaels experience. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry with 10 locations. Baton Rouge, 2 locations in Baton Rouge. New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, Mississippi, Texas as well. 10 locations across 3 states. It's Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Thrill her, gentlemen. Thrill her with a gift in the red box from Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry.
All right, we're going to grab a break here on the other side. This is a Monday edition of AFR. Musso in for Moscona. The Saints signed 16 undrafted free agents. There's 2 of them that I find really intriguing that I think could compete not only for a roster spot, but maybe even some playing time as rookies. We'll tell you about those guys next here on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Darren James and Associates, brokered by LPT Realty. That's right. Darren James has launched a new group, LPT Realty, which will give so many expanded resources to you, the homeowner, as you're selling your home. Darren James will have increased access to communication and so many other resources to help sell your home for the highest dollar possible. So you're matching and marrying here the number 1 realtor in the state of Louisiana. Wall Street Journal's lists the top 1% of realtors in America, and a new company that's growing at an exponential rate that's going to give you expanded resources. I want to also mention, if you are a realtor or are thinking about getting your realtor's license, you need to call Darren James and learn about LPT Realty. Their structure and how they're allowing the realtor to keep more commissions is something that could change your life. Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Brought to you by South Point Volkswagen. SouthPointVW.com, new and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com. We're headed toward the weekend, so if you're in the market for a vehicle, make sure Volkswagen is on your list. Let me remind you, if you're a college student, South Point Volkswagen offers you $500 off any purchase. So just to start, boom, you're in college, here's $500 off just to get started. Great opportunity right now with 1.9% APR for 60 months or a $3,000 customer bonus on selected new models. Great deals always. Check them out at southpointVW.com. You can work out your financing online. It's all there for you at the website. Search the entire inventory and then go test drive one at Airline just north of Highland. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction?
Good song, Alondra.
This is the best JT song. It's my favorite.
It's hard. Okay, there's a difference.
Yeah,
there.
I guess you're right.
But it is really good.
Oh, don't let this song come on anywhere, because I will start singing wherever I'm at if this song comes on.
Great music
Karaoke
video to this song as well.
I will karaoke. I don't know if this is a good karaoke song, but I do it.
Yeah, you might bring the vibe down in the place a little bit.
What if I start dancing like him?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, it's not the upbeat. Like karaoke, you need something to fire the crowd.
Yeah,
up.
I guess so.
I mean, a song about cheating is not going to fire unless it's like Carrie Underwood before he cheats.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
That one, yeah.
Somebody told me "Redneck Woman" by Gretchen Wilson would probably be a really good karaoke song.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess this one wouldn't be.
That would be a great.
It wouldn't be, but I do it anyway.
You've had a lot of JT over there today.
Oh yeah.
On the bump music. All right. Well, hey, earlier Cat Terell was with us, and we talked about the holes the Saints needed to fill, and one of them remaining was obviously on the offensive line, and they've taken a step towards doing that. Nick Underhill and Mike Triplett, both New Orleans.football, providing you with this information. The Saints are signing offensive lineman Shane Lemieux and Justin Heron. We're going to go Heron or Heron, one of those two. Per a source, it is a bit of a cool moment. They're both, as Nick notes, represented by AMDG Sports, which is founded by former Saints offensive lineman LaCharles Bentley. So Lemieux, a guard. We could have a much bigger segment on these guys tomorrow, but he was a 5th-round pick of the Giants in 2020. Started 9 games that year, but last 3 years, I should say, just been a lot of injuries. And then Heron, a 6th-round pick for the Patriots, started 10 games, suffered a torn ACL in October 2022, and played sparingly the last 2 years. So the Saints bring in 2 veterans along the offensive line, but neither of them sound like they might totally be the answer that you're looking for there. But we can dive deeper into both on tomorrow's show. But Saints are still making moves, man. They're staying busy. The Saints also, as customary, signed a whole host of undrafted free agents after the NFL draft came and went. 16 of them to be exact. And look, if you go down the list, there's a few that it's just, okay. They signed a punter out of Vanderbilt, Matthew Hayball, a guard out of Boston College, a cornerback from Pittsburgh State, a wide receiver from Slippery Rock. But there are two that I find very, very intriguing. And we'll start with Colorado State tight end Dallin Holker. So if you don't know who Dallin Holker is, Dallin Holker started his career at BYU in 2018. He's 24 years old, played in 13 games at BYU as a true freshman, then left for 2 years to go serve on his mission. When he returned, he played in all 13 games at BYU in 2021. His seasons in 18 and 21 were very comparable. It wasn't this, wild production. He had about 200 receiving yards in both, a single touchdown in both. Nothing's really jumping off the page. 3 years into his final year at BYU, 3 games, I should say, into his final year at BYU, he enters the transfer portal. Ends up at Colorado State for his last year of college football in 2023, and he blew up. If you still don't know who Dallin Holker is, let me give you something that might remind you. In week 2, he had an insane one-handed catch in the end zone for a touchdown that was lauded early as catch of the year. In that massive game against Colorado State that went to multiple overtimes, drew a wild television audience, he had 2 touchdowns and a whole host of receiving yards in that game. So you've seen him play. In 2023, after the pedestrian years at BYU and serving his mission for 2 years, 2023 at Colorado State, Dallin Holker was a second-team All-American by the Associated Press, a finalist for the Mackey Award, which goes to the best tight end in the nation. He was first-team All-Mountain West, started all 12 games, caught over 700 yards worth of balls and 6 touchdowns, and oh, by the way, was voted a team captain. And all of a sudden, teams took notice. When you look at him from a prospect standpoint, pass catcher is the first thing that comes to mind. He's not going to give you much in terms of inline blocking, but he's got great hands. He's great with contested catches. And while he is not a blazer when it comes to speed, his 40 time was a 4.78. The agility is off the charts for a guy like Dallin Holker. He is great in space. 6 yards after the catch per average last season at Colorado. He's got ability to make guys miss, and he's got great run after the catch, even without that speed. Like, it's not a great burst, but when he gets going, he can run past some people. That also helps him a little bit on seam routes and things of that nature. This is a very intriguing prospect to me for that reason. Now, there's a couple of things you have to obviously account for. He's 24 years old, so that's going to help him fall in some type of process like this. There's only been one season where he's blown up. But even with him being 24, I feel like there's enough there that the Saints can continue to kind of mold him and develop him. And this would be a guy that I think could be a phenomenal backup tight end for you going forward. Like, I don't think Dallin Holker is ever going to be a top flight starting tight end in the NFL. But what if Dallin Holker gives you what Jimmy Graham gave you last season? Would you take that? Now, they'd have to use him a little bit more than they used Jimmy Graham last season, but if you get that from him year one as an undrafted player, and then he maybe continues to develop. Because y'all, just go turn on the highlight tape of this guy, and you'll see it. He had a play in that Colorado State game where, I mean, the throw was not great. He had a defender draped all over him, and the throw was at his shoelace. Think Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the Alabama game in 2019 on that third and 10. He caught the ball on his shoelaces. As a tight end, catches the ball on his shoelaces, sheds the tackle, and then runs for the end zone. It was like a 30-plus yard touchdown. That's the type of athleticism you are seeing from a guy like this, and you got him undrafted. NFL.com, they made a list of the top available undrafted players at each position after the draft. Dallin Holker was the number one ranked tight end on that list. This feels like an absolute steal from the New Orleans Saints here, undrafted rookie-wise, with Holker. I'm fired up to watch him go through camp because his testing at the combine was great. Like, you get a total score at the combine. It's split from your, what they call a production score and athleticism score. His production score was an 80. That was fourth among all tight ends at the combine. His athleticism score was 75. That was 10th among all tight ends at the combine. Overall, his total score was a 76, 6th among all tight ends at the combine, and you got him as an undrafted rookie. I'm fired up to watch Dallin Holker go through camp with the Saints and see if he can't not only make the team, but become some sort of a contributor on this team behind Juwan Johnson, behind Foster Moreau, and obviously Taysom Hill will be in his role. He'll line up at tight end, he'll line up at receiver, he'll line up on special teams, he'll line up at quarterback. You know what Taysom Hill is at this point. Holker is extremely intriguing to me. The other guy is Trajan Jeffcoat. He is a edge rusher out of Arkansas. He was, first of all, for what it's worth, that NFL.com list, the third best edge rusher on that. The thing I like most about him, why he's intriguing, is the versatility. At his size, he could be a great edge in a 4-3 or potentially even play outside linebacker in a 3-4. Solid motor from Jeffcoat, but he needs to work on his hands a little bit and kind of understand what he is. I think the Saints have done a great job developing defensive linemen. That's another reason I'm intrigued by him, and he feels like a pretty raw prospect there, and he's a great athlete. Like, the athleticism score was 71 at the combine. It was 14th out of all DNs and edge rushers. So I'm extremely excited to watch Dallin Holker, but Trajan Jeffcoat's the other guy that's really intriguing because of the athleticism and the versatility that he brings, and New Orleans's track record kind of for developing defensive linemen. We'll see. Those are the two guys out of the 16 that I'm most intrigued to watch out of the Saints undrafted free agents. The Pelicans, they face the Thunder tonight, trying to avoid a sweep on their home floor. Jake Madison joins us next to preview it here on AFR.
AFR. Man, we have been thrilled to be partnered with Rouse's. Rouse's is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Of course, they wish the Saints good luck tonight. Who dat, as always. But remember, Rouse's, a great family-owned business that has grown to almost unimaginable heights as they've expanded here. You know, they've been in business for 100 years, been helping you make groceries for 60 of those years. It's a great opportunity, man, to get by Rouse's for whatever it is you're looking for. You want to swing by, pick up dinner tonight for the family? Rouse's. Everybody wants something different? No worries. If you want, fried chicken and French fries, they got it. If you want sushi, they got it. If you want a grab and go, sort of Asian bowl, like I love their teriyaki, their chicken and beef fried rice teriyaki bowls. They're awesome. You want to buy something there at the seafood market, you can do it at Rouse's. Throw a tuna steak on the grill at the house, whatever it is. You want to get some ice cold beer, some fine and fun wines, they got it at Rouse's. The official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints, Rouse's. This feels like home.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Ford has $10,000 off F-150s, $10,000 off the new F-150 truck, plus 1.9% for 72 months. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
All right, back here on a Monday edition of AFR. Musso in for Moscona. Wrapping up here on a Monday edition, as a matter of fact. The Pelicans, they are on the floor tonight, possibly for the last time, facing the Oklahoma City Thunder, trailing the series 3-0 in the first round of the playoffs. Jake Madison from Locked On Pels on Twitter at NolaJake joins the show to give us a preview and kind of talk about how the Pelicans got to this point. Jake, we appreciate it as always. How are you?
I'm doing well. Sitting courtside watching them warm up, and hopefully they're going to make shots in this game like they're doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, that leads perfectly into my first question, and I think you kind of gave away your answer, but I mean, you can watch these 3 games and see a multitude of issues for New Orleans, whether it's defensively, whether it's turnovers, and then there's the shot missing, not shot making, the shot missing that has plagued them. What do you think has been the biggest issue so far for the Pelicans in the 3 games we've seen?
You know, I think when you look at them just missing 3-pointers, part of it's just luck, right? Like sometimes it's really as simple as, to use a cliche here, a make or miss league. And I think you're just seeing the Pelicans go cold at, the wrong time. CJ McCollum was lighting it up at the end of the season, but once we hit the postseason, that shot seemed to go away, but he's getting good looks. He's just not converting them. And when you look at this series, if New Orleans was making some more of these shots, they would maybe have made some of these games closer. They easily could have won game 1. So hopefully, they haven't shot the best at home. They've been better on the road, but maybe it's an extra day here in New Orleans helps them out a little bit. But there really isn't a ton of explanation for it, to be perfectly honest.
So that is something I kind of wanted to ask you too, though, because whenever Willie Green's asked about it after the game, game 1's a perfect example of it, where he said, we had good looks. We just didn't make them. But in that same vein, he always will say, the Thunder are a good defensive team. You have to give them credit, which I mean is true, but which is it more of? Are they just missing open looks, or how much of it is the Thunder being a good defensive team?
So it's a little column A, a little column B, I think. When you look at this Pelicans offense right now, they're just out of sorts and they're lacking a ton of movement.
And when you don't have a guy in Brandon Ingram who's playing his best basketball and he's not throwing two defenders, they aren't throwing double teams at him because Lou Dort is doing such a good job, it allows the four other guys out there on the court, the four other defenders, to just lock down on shooters and contest three-point looks that they're getting. So without, kind of breaking down that defense, forcing the defense to rotate and letting them just be set and doing their thing, it is the Oklahoma City Thunder contesting a lot of really, tough, just making the Pelicans take tougher shots than you would like for them. So it kind of goes to their offense just being a little bit discombobulated as a whole and not getting a ton from Brandon Ingram right now. And if he starts to have a big game and starts to influence that defense a little bit more, they'll get more open shots, and you feel good then about them potentially making those.
Yeah, BI's interesting because obviously without Zion, Brandon Ingram is going to be the guy that everybody looks to really step up, and it's been a struggle for him so far in these 3 games. Everybody asks how you get Brandon Ingram going better. I'm going to ask you, can they get Brandon Ingram going better?
You feel like if they could, they would have by now, and I think this is just a particularly tough matchup for him. And, to his credit a little bit too, he's still a little bit banged up coming off of that really scary knee injury that he had. But they've tried, and they just haven't been really prepared to be able to do it. You saw it in Game 2, Game 3. They tried to set a lot more screens for him, except the screens weren't good, and they were getting called for a lot of offensive fouls that led to turnovers for New Orleans. So it's really just kind of getting everyone on the same page. Maybe an extra day of practice is going to do it, and they can get the win here tonight. But just as a whole, they've looked, to be perfectly honest with you, unprepared for this series, both offensively and defensively.
Jake, how different would this series be right now if Zion Williamson was playing?
Oh, entirely different. Entirely different, and it wouldn't be the same conversation that we're having right now with everything, right? We just talked about Brandon Ingram and his inability to draw a double team and the way the Thunder are defending him. You have to throw a double team or a triple team at Zion Williamson, and that's when you get defenses rotating, and that's how the Pelicans all season long have won in the half court. Once those defenses are rotating, you have good ball movement, passing the ball around the perimeter, so you get a good open look. And that's what they've excelled at, and they haven't been able to do that. So having Zion Williamson would change the way this series looks entirely. Look at what he did against the Lakers. 40 points, right? That was kind of a breakout game, his first postseason experience. We won't call it a playoff game, but a postseason experience. And he delivered, and the Lakers had no answer, and they started to come back in that game, and they probably win if he stays in it. So he would have been a huge difference maker for this team, and we'd be having a different conversation today.
Talking with Jake Madison, of course, host of Locked on Pels. Y'all get subscribed up if you have not already. He's on Twitter at NolaJake. The Pelicans face the Thunder tonight, do or die. They're down 3-0 in the series on their home court here now, and they win or they go home. OKC is a 4.5-point favorite in this ball game. Let's talk about the turnover issue that's kind of been plaguing New Orleans lately here, Jake, because it seems to be maybe a little out of the ordinary for them, at least the clip that they've had. Is there anything different there that you're seeing that's leading to the high number of turnovers? I mean, they had 21 in the last game.
Yeah, that's been a problem all season long, right? They're averaging 17 turnovers per game right now, and that kills them, right? Because then all of a sudden, OKC is racing out in transition and scoring easy points. And for the Pelicans, who have been a good defensive team this season, ranked 6th in the league, you're not able to get stops in transition. Nobody does, and that's really, really killing them. That comes down to kind of what we talked about earlier, getting everyone on the same page with those sorts of things. Finding ways to break down that defense a little bit more. When everyone's just playing one-on-one, they can force turnovers. OKC had the 3rd best defense all season long. They excel at forcing turnovers and getting out and running, similar to what New Orleans wants to do. And you're playing right into the hands of their defense. You're making it easy on them. I'm sure their coaching staff is looking at the game film and loving what they're seeing right now. So they need to figure out how to, again, draw double teams, get that defense rotating. That'll create open looks. That means you won't have guys that are just smothered by a defender on the perimeter, and that'll cut down on some of the turnovers.
Before we get to keys for tonight's game, I want to give you a hypothetical. Let's say the Pelicans don't win tonight. Let's say they get swept. How is this team looked at in the post-mortem of the season, considering they won 49 regular season games? They had a chance to make the playoffs without the play-in, but they fall short of that and end up in the play-in, and then Zion gets hurt, and that's put a massive impact on this season. But just a few years ago, you saw them give the number one seed everything they wanted in a 7-game series without Zion Williamson. And expectation this year was obviously much higher. If they get swept after the journey they've had, how is this team going to be viewed?
Yeah, it's tough to figure that out. That's a good question, and I actually talked about that on my podcast today a little bit, right? I think it's important to not just be a pure prisoner of the moment and have recency bias in this, where we look at this 4-game stretch and go, that was really bad. You've got to blow it up, and you've got to do something. I think they're going to look at it over the course of a whole season, right? You know, we can talk about how we want to face a disappointment. What matters is what the front office is going to think about it and how that's going to cause them to react and what it's going to cause them to do. I think they're going to look at the whole of the 82-game season and kind of try and put things in a little bit more context. Winning 49 games is really good. That was an accomplishment. You saw Zion Williamson kind of be the man until the very, very end when he got hurt, and that's the reason they look so bad right now. They might not have won this series with Zion playing, but they would have been more competitive and they wouldn't have been swept. And so it's one of those things where it just feels like the same old Pels, right? Injuries marring what looked really promising for them. I think they know because during these 82 games, you saw an inability to beat some of the top teams in the league, at least consistently, that they need to make some changes. They need to make a bigger move or two. And I think regardless of how the season ends, even if they win this series somehow, they're going to still feel that same way and make those type of moves this offseason.
They come back to win it. It'll definitely be history-making. No team ever in the NBA yet coming back from a 3-0 deficit. That's the challenge the Pelicans have. So that's the hypothetical, but let's hope we don't actually have to have that conversation for a while. Let's hope the Pelicans do get it done tonight and stave off elimination. If they are to do that, Jake, what is the key? How does it look for New Orleans to get a win against OKC in Game 4?
It's Brandon Ingram, right? Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum. They got to make their shots. They got to play good offense. They got to draw double teams, and they just got to make things easier for the Pelicans in the half court. That's been a problem for them all season long. They really had not all season long, but all series long. They've had an inability to do that. If they good chance, I think, at winning this game and at least extending the series, but it's going to come down to their star players playing like star players. Not what we've seen so far.
Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pels podcast. Jake, we got a post-game edition tonight for Locked On Pels, or is it going to drop tomorrow?
You bet. It will be live on the Locked On Pels YouTube page. Get home from the game, kind of break down Game 4, whether it's a win, whether it's a sweep, kind of make sense of what we saw and get set for either the next game or the off-season.
Y'all get subscribed up, Locked On Pels, and join Jake tonight. It's great content, and if you aren't subscribed already, you definitely should be if you want New Orleans Pelicans content. Jake, we appreciate the time as always. Enjoy the game. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. That is Jake Madison, Locked On Pels on Twitter at NOLA Jake. Pels and Thunder tonight from the SKC. Pels looking to stave off elimination, extend their season, extend this series, and avoid being swept on their home floor. The Thunder, a 4.5-point favorite. Speaking of betting lines, that's the last thing that we have to do here today. It has been a jam-packed show from Saints draft to LSU football to LSU baseball to the New Orleans Pelicans. We have been just jammed up wall to wall here on Monday's AFR, and now we'll wrap it up with Jimmy Ott and Otter Locks on the other side of this break. But first, a word about Evermore.
Brought to you by Evermore, all natural, great tasting water. When you uncap a bottle of Evermore, that's the first time the product touches air. It's incredible. It's a natural well. It's natural artesian water. It's a well. It's on the North Shore. I went to their bottling facility. When you pull up on the left, you'll see the well is right there. They've drilled deep into the earth. They pipe it out right into their filters and their filtration system. Nothing is added. Nothing is extracted. It is completely pure from the earth water. So if you want a healthier option, if you want a healthier lifestyle, something healthier for your children, maybe you're an athlete that wants a superior form of hydration, Evermore, EVAMOR. If you notice, go to their website, you'll see Dak Prescott is one of their chief spokespeople. I mean, starting NFL quarterback is vouching for it. Check it out at great local retailers or order on their website at EVAMOR.com, Evermore.com, Evermore.com.
All right, we're going to grab a break. Come back on the other side. We'll find out what we're betting on tonight. Jimmy Ott will join us for Otter Locks NBA, Major League Baseball. I'm sure we'll have a full card with the Otter. That's next to close out a Monday edition of AFR, presented by Relief Windows.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery, 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, Siga near Airline, LA 16 in Denham, Mid-City on Donmore, and the Garden Center on Greenwell Springs. Buy local, shop local. Y'all, the weather is gorgeous. Spring is here. The 100-degree temps are around the corner, but not here yet. It's a great opportunity. Get a little exercise. Get a little vitamin D from the sunshine. Get out in your yard and just plant something. Clegg's can make it happen. If you need mulch or soil, they got it. Bag, bulk, no problem. If you need plants or flowers to plant, they got it. Pop a color into those patio pots or your flower beds. Clegg's can help because they have shipments arriving daily. They got a great selection and great prices and the most helpful staff. I can't imagine why you'd go anywhere else. They're convenient because they're strategically located all over town, so you're near a Clegg's no matter where you are in the greater Baton Rouge area. Their prices are great, and their people are the most friendly. Par for the course when you've been doing it for 6 decades. It's Clegg's Nursery. Buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept. Take your spotlight.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows, windows, doors, siding. Oh yeah, they also do interior shutters.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first 2 floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at WilliamsonEYE.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEYE.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020. 924-2020 or WilliamsonEYE.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's find out what we're betting on tonight. It is time for Otter Locks.
Otter Locks, presented by Lofton Staffing Services. At Lofton, we put people to work. Call us today at 924-0200 or go to lofton.jobs.
So we welcome our guy, the Ott father himself, Jimmy Ott. Otter, how are you?
Musso, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
We're doing great, man. This was a jam-packed Monday. Draft, baseball series, Pellies on the floor tonight. Full show.
A little bit, man. A little bit. No doubt about it, man. So let's get to it. We're going to go with, all of a sudden, one of the hottest teams in Major League Baseball. Now, they feasted on playing the lowly White Sox, but, you know, they won 4 in a row, and then they went out to Anaheim and just destroyed the Angels. A couple of games where they scored double-digit runs. I mean, the bats are rolling. And tonight they get Carlos Correa back. Minnesota Twins, they got their ace on the mound. I'm not laying $1.60, but I will lay $1.50 on the road at plus 105.
All right, Twins minus 1.5 plus $1.05.
One more baseball pick before we get to the basketball, and that is Reds at Padres. Nick Lodolo, 7th overall pick out of TCU a handful of years ago. Going to take him up basically at a pick-em minus 108 on the road against San Diego.
1 minute remaining.
Matt Waldron, down the line pitcher for San Diego. Lodolo seems to be breaking out this year. We're going to ride him again. He's been really good. And then tonight, don't like the card terribly, but I will lean toward Boston and Denver to take care of business. I can't figure out the Pelicans, so good luck on that. And I don't know how anybody can bet them after what they saw on Saturday, but you know they might come with a little heart tonight.
It was rough. We're going spread with the Celtics and the Nuggets, Otter.
Yeah.
All right. So Celtics and Nuggets on the spread. Minnesota on the run line. Reds on the money line. Where are you tomorrow, Jimmy?
We're at Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee, just off of Nicholson.
All right. Y'all listen to the guys live at lunch. Otter, we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you, Moose.
Absolutely. That's going to wrap it up here for a Monday edition of AFR. Great show today. Enjoyed filling in. We'll be back tomorrow as well. Matt is back in the chair on Tuesday, so y'all join us for a Tuesday edition of AFR next time.
AFR.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.